Welcome to our weekly episode of 6 on 6, everybody. And Operation Tenfold Pursuit is live across all platforms. That's what we're going to start off with. We had M80 on the show last week. I don't know if everybody watched the episode. We got to dive into what it's like to be winners, what it's like to go through as M80 through Munich, win it all, what Fabian thinks of the team. The last diffuser wasn't on. If you didn't get a chance to watch the episode, I highly recommend you go back because there's a lot of ball talk for about the first hour or so, and then we discuss the origination and the genesis of that M80 team all the way back from Beast Coast through Unwanted and onward. It was a great episode, and we will have more guest episodes coming up as well. But until we take our winter break, it's probably just going to be the three of us. Troy might join us for one of our winter episodes sometime after the NA League finals are done. And for those of you that are watching, both the SA League and the EM League finals are both finished. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But let's start off with Operation Tenfold Pursuit. And in fact, I wanted to talk a little bit about the season itself. But gents, it seems like the conversation has mostly revolved around the disastrous launch of Tenfold Pursuit. Have either of you played it yet? And if so, do you feel that the sky is falling like a lot of the community is saying, or are things being blown out of proportion?
Yeah, I mean, I have played it. I don't know if I want to pick a side on that, whether
You don't have to. You can play both sides.
I'll play both sides because I definitely don't want to say it's been blown out of proportion. You're referring to with the sky is falling. Obviously, when the season did get released, they promised us. They properly said "fuck cheaters," and
They did.
They
did say that.
And we were all very excited to play ranked. Of course, everyone wants to get champion, and there were cheaters. There were stream snipers. There were hitting servers off, DDoSing, whatever it was. They were there, and it definitely made for a rough start. So I definitely don't want to say it was blown out of proportion because I didn't see too many cheaters, but I know Dream, I think he had a cheater count. A lot of streamers had cheater counts upwards of like plus 13, plus 15 per day, which is actually incredible. I haven't run into, it is too much. I haven't run into many myself. However, on December 5th, I believe it was. So unfortunately, we had to wait a couple days, and everyone was very kind of fuming. And but we did get an update to the anti-cheat, and me personally, since then, I won't say it's been clean, smooth sailing, but it definitely has drastically reduced the amount. But Siege is that game where for 10 years, every game I go into, I think I'm playing a cheater. Like I'm just kind of schizo at this point, where I just feel like I'm playing a cheater. And it shouldn't be like that. I mean, it shouldn't be like that in any game that you love and enjoy. So I myself hide away in 10-mans in my Discord server or in the Hungry Hub and play a lot of 10-mans where I know that they can't harm me, or I'll just, at least I get $5 for them subbing to me, or I can kick them out with the match replay file. But overall, I have been enjoying the update. I'm a big DMR lover, and there's a lot of good changes that we've talked about in a previous episode as well. But so overall I've liked it. Fat, have you had a chance to play it?
I have not actually. I haven't had the chance to. I've been just too busy, and I also just saw on. Oh God, my cats are being crazy. I'm so sorry. I've saw the bad reception. But I heard it's been better since they've launched a ban wave.
Yeah.
I've been mostly playing casual, and by mostly playing casual, I mean for one day. I played casual, and that was the most of Siege I've experienced in the new season.
Was there any cheaters in there?
I think so. I mean, it's free to play, right? So I'm sure it's all infested.
I'm sure we can cover this in more detail, but with that anti-cheat update, it's look, it was 2 days after, which is pretty quick than we've normally gotten in the past. So here's my insane hopium copium that we can all have fun. But 2 days after the season release, they did give us that update, and they have promised us that we were going to see more of them more frequently. So hopefully they stay true to their word. That was pretty cool to see some actionable things coming out of the devs or out of the Ubisoft team. So it's just if they stay on top of it, hopefully we're in for a good season. But I just know the more that they piss off the cheaters, the more they're going to want to cheat in our games. So it's always a back and forth.
Yeah, you also just reminded me, like Ubisoft in their update, they said they're permanently disabling the ban ticker. So they're permanently disabling that thing in the top right that shows you, hey, this player has been banned by Battle Eye, this player's been banned by Battle Eye, this player's been banned by Battle Eye. And I think that's good because cheaters were data mining that in order to provide info on like how fast Ubisoft was scaling the response. And then I think they were probably like pre-firing, making like a new version of the cheat, to my best guess, I guess, whenever that would happen. Um,
Yeah.
I also know that like Spoit mentioned or tweeted out, and I'm really sorry, Parker. Probably should have thought about this before, but it popped in my head now. Not gonna find the tweet now, but he tweeted about how like what is the point of the TTS if like bugs make it to the main patch anyways, and cheaters just use it to develop a new build of their new cheat, which I think is a valid point, and I think Ubisoft is doing a good job of trying to look at the things that um cheaters can use as tools to like stay ahead and keep making more and more and crazier cheats and kind of getting rid of them like the ban ticker. I don't know what they will do about TTS. I personally almost kind of agree with Sploy. I can see it in a world where an extreme solution where maybe even like removing TTS for everyone but pro players would be beneficial or something, or you have to apply for access, but I don't know. I mean, there's too many workarounds. So I don't know. I have no idea. What do you guys think of that?
Let me jump in here very quickly. We do have the Spoit tweet that should be able to go up on the screen for those that don't have a visual component. It says, it says, what's crazy to me is that the TTS is basically useless. Any bugs that show up there just make it or just end up shipping into the next season anyway, and cheaters literally use the TTS to update their cheats so they're ready for the next patch. You can't make this shit up for the new patch. So obviously I'm not familiar with the cheating ecosystem. Again, the only time I've ever cheated in a video game is I used APAC when I played Diablo 2 back when I was like a teenager. I think we actually talked about this on another episode. So it's like I wouldn't even know where to start if I wanted to add cheats to my game. I don't know if cheaters are using the TTS, and I don't know how Spoit knows that. I don't doubt him. Like the first thing that I think of is not like, wow, he must be wrong. But I mean, amidst the Save Siege discussion writ large, there was a lot of just blatant misinformation from people who think they know how this game works, think they know how the anti-cheat works, and it's evident that they don't. And I mean, I spoke with a couple of UB devs while I was in Munich about it, and they're like, yeah, these guys are talking about stuff that they have absolutely zero knowledge on, and, but bad ball knowledge, here we go. Do I know for a fact that cheaters use the TTS to update their cheats so they're ready for launch day? No, I don't know that. I don't know how Spoit knows that. Maybe he's talked to some cheaters. I have talked to cheaters in the past, NA cheaters, about actually helping using them to get accounts back for people. So like black hat cheaters becoming white hat cheaters, and it's actually worked before. But it feels very silly having to like go to a devil to, get help against the other devil. Like it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's like I use whatever resources you have, right? But I don't know if he's in communication with any of these people. I don't know. I think it is worth noting, just in defense of the test server here, the TTS or the TS or whatever you want to call it. The TS is there for people to try new content ahead of time, yes, but it is also to catch bugs and submit them so that you can get ahead of them. Bugs are not going to be fixed within a day or two unless they are immediately reproducible. My brain is fried. I'm very, very tired today. So my vocabulary might be not as good. That is going to teach me how to word today. But if they can't be replicated, then it doesn't really matter if you're catching bugs. If you ever submit something to R6 Fix, and I mean, I've had a couple glitches with this season. I had operator outlines just show up out of nowhere. Just every now and then, a random operator just has a big glowing outline against them. I don't know why. Obviously, it's a bug. I actually think it makes it a little bit easier to see the operator, so I'm not super upset about it. But, I can understand why they don't want that in the game. But if you can't reproduce the issues, then Ubisoft struggles to figure out how to fix it. And I mean, a big part of the TS is it allows pro teams to scrim on that content ahead of time. And I do know that teams were scrimming on the TS. I believe Fabian even mentioned that in the previous episode. But it also allows you to get ahead of some of those bugs. If something is completely broken, you're going to catch it in the TS before it goes live, right? Now, in a perfect world, these game devs in these studios are paying testers to go through all this stuff. The budget for game testing, mostly across the board, has shrunk dramatically. I know that we've seen issues with other developers not paying them properly, game testers wanting to unionize, that sort of thing. So I do think the TS obviously still has its purposes, but I don't think it's as valuable as it used to be. This is from me as an outside perspective. Maybe the devs will vehemently disagree with that, but I don't really see a ton of value in it. But I did want to bring up that Spoit tweet. And then to that other point, the Shieldguard tweet that we were talking about from Rainbow Six Siege, which should be up on your screen as well. It did come out in blindingly fast speed. Credit to Ubisoft for getting this out within 48 hours. Basically, they said Shieldguard had an update and it detected a major cheat maker targeting Year 10 Season 4's launch. In concert, a high volume of this cheat provider's users have been caught. A ban wave has been rolled out today. Note that to aid our anti-cheat efforts, the ban ticker is now permanently deactivated. This is a necessary measure and is used by cheat makers to track our progress. And look, I will say, I don't know if you guys disagree with me, and I'm not trying to drag us away from the point here. I actually never understood the point of the ban ticker. Like, to me, it was just like it used to pop up during pro games and there was no way to turn it off. And I always thought it was a bad distraction. Like, you're watching a competitive esport and then all of a sudden there's 4 minutes of just accounts getting banned. I don't necessarily think it's a good look for our esport that so many people have to get banned in the first place. Yeah, obviously it's great they're getting banned, but whatever. I'm glad they got rid of it. And Ubisoft being able to take action as quickly as they did is obviously good. I don't know if it helped because admittedly, I am not a champ level player. I rarely come across cheaters as is. All you guys need to do to avoid cheaters is just be terrible at the game like me, and it makes playing a lot more enjoyable. And Mint, we actually really didn't play a lot of, I think we played cheaters once when you and I queued up together the other day. So we were largely immune from cheaters when we duo queued as well. So you just need to be bad or play with somebody bad enough to drag your elo down. Anyway, now we got that stuff out of the way. We can go back to it. We can talk about the test server. I think test server's fine. Producer David said it's mostly to catch game breaking bugs ahead of time. And I mean, nothing is broken to that point yet. So I guess mission accomplished.
Yeah. I also wanted to say, like, I'm definitely not on my shit today either. So I guess it's a slow day for all of us.
Oh,
Slow
man.
day for the viewers. So I'm sorry
low
if any of
energy
us
as well,
fuck
yeah.
up. But yeah, we're all low energy. But I wanted to throw, speaking of the TTS, I want to throw to a topic we'll talk about later. This is kind of like a hook to keep people suspense. But you know, it is very interesting because like you said, it gives pros a chance to practice with the new patch, and SI is on the new patch. Now, while that being said, the new patch came out, but they still played the regional finals after the new patch came out on the old patch. So we had this weird situation where teams already qualified for SI are practicing on the new patch. They didn't give a fuck about the old patch. And we'll talk about that, and maybe that was actually beneficial for some teams. Like there's unpracticed teams performing very, very well still on the old patch, maybe even looking better than they usually look, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I'm happy they caught the cheat makers. I was very sad to see the first day of the season so many memes being made of Josh hopping on stage and saying "fuck 'em," you know, because you know, I mean, I think it's, you know, it's the attempt, man. It's like I'm always like the hopium guy, you know. I'm always like the things can be greater. So
Yeah.
it was a bit sad, but I'm glad, you know, people found ways around it. I wanted to ask Mint whether or not Parker still had it when you played with him.
Parker
And I
definitely
also,
has it.
and I also
Parker
just want to
definitely
say, I
got it.
feel like there are cheaters everywhere because of the amount I play. Like, I literally feel myself turning into laxing right now with how much I play casual.
Casual? That's so
Yes,
funny.
and there
I did
are
the
like
same thing, Fed.
there are an egregious amount of cheaters. They are just terrible. So Parker, I don't think there's like a less amount of cheaters for you. I think it's just they are so bad to the point where like you can't tell. But then I'll play casual and then I'll just be like, well, this guy's like really like wall banging where I'm at. But then he has no idea that it's like it's unwall bangable, so I'll just like quick peek him and like one tap.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No,
Do I
mean,
still have it?
You definitely, yeah, of course. Let me repeat that. Parker got it.
Parker,
You guys are
still
looking
got
at
it.
the next pickup here for T1, guys. We're looking at
Holy
Intero.
shit!
Yep,
Let's go, Parker.
Yeah, I with the TTS real quick before we move on. I'm glad you said it. With like, look, even if we do see bugs, like it takes a while to fix said bugs. So it's like we can't complain that like, oh, they still haven't fixed it. It's like a week or two might not be long enough for them to replicate it and figure out the issue and fix the bug. So that's number one. At least we find the bugs in TTS and it gives them more of a chance to fix it in the game, so we're not finding it later. And this is the most that I play TTS, so I had a lot of fun with new content, and I hope they keep giving us new content. I'm really excited for what is not TTS. What's the new thing we're supposed to be getting? We're like
Training grounds or
yeah.
proving grounds or something like
that
It
that.
was
like
testing grounds where they fuck around.
grounds.
Yeah, and the first thing they wanted to fuck around with was like the speed and like HP
Yeah.
of operators. Yeah, and I think that's like that could give leeway for interesting ways to restructure the TTS. Oh, am I lagging? Am I lagging?
No,
No.
Okay, good. Thank God. My signal went way down there. But yeah, I think it could give like a new way to treat the TTS. Because like you said, like one of the biggest issues with the TTS is that it gives kind of a little bit of like bad PR. To where like, oh, like people will always find issues on the TTS, and then like it will just never get fixed because it takes time. It took like months and months, like maybe half a year to even get to this point of making the patch in the first place. The issues are going to take a quintillion years to fix. And I think it just gives people bad PR in the eyes of the TTS. But I actually want to ask producer David. I want to summon him. Click my summon David button. How does League do its PBE? Is it like the always like the patch before, or do they test changes out like super far in advance so that like by the time it comes to the point of releasing it, it's like it's ready to go? Because I know for the TTS for Siege, for producer David, who you might not
Yeah,
know
I'm
how
here.
it works.
I'm here.
Yeah. What they do is they only release it after they announce a new season, and then it's out for like I believe like half a month or like 3/4 of a month before the new season drops.
Yeah, so producer David here. Classically, there's always a patch every 2 weeks, and it's pretty much within 2 weeks of a patch being on the testing environment until it gets onto live. So every patch is on the testing environment for 2 weeks minimum. And then for the larger patches between seasons, it will often be on there for maybe 4 to 6 weeks or so for larger changes to get tested. And then when they added, WASD controls, that was on the PBE for much, much longer. So larger changes will be on there for longer, and then normal changes will just be on there for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And do they ever like not do any changes on the PBE in case they don't want to like leak or anything, or they want to like surprise everyone with it, or is it all pretty much like what's coming?
It's pretty much always at least 2 weeks on the PBE. I did see that the most recent champion release was only on the PBE for 6 days or so. That is very much a rarity. That almost never happens. It usually is announced and then on there for 2 weeks.
Cool. Didn't know that. Thanks, producer David. Everyone, call to action. Say thank you, producer David.
Thank you, producer David.
You are welcome.
Before we move on, you heard a call to action. Let's start with our very first sponsor today, because I know we always say this. We say it'll be a short podcast. This one actually will be a short podcast, mostly because we have time constraints of our own. And also we want to talk about some of the stuff maybe next week as well. We're going to start with how producer David was listening. Well, our next sponsor, Raycon, they help you listen as well. And this message is sponsored by Raycon. If you're looking for a holiday gift, I've been using Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds, and honestly, they're good. I love that I can play my music and still hear what's going on around me at the same time. It's perfect for the gym. As you can see, I go to the gym quite often, or when I'm out walking, which I actually do walk a fair bit. It's also great for public transit. Any type of headphones that have the ability to project what's going on outside of you while you're on public transit and you're in a crowded place, it's always good to have your head on a swivel. And Raycon's accomplished that. They're also 20% off right now. Grab them while you can. I use the Raycon headphones. I enjoyed them quite a lot. I was using them the other day. I used them when I went to the Spoit event down in Toronto and I took public transit. They were great. They allowed me to hear what was going on around me and still hear my music. And most importantly, they don't actually go in my ears, which is really, really nice. Because I have very small ear canals and they're both different sizes and my headphones fall out from time to time. Anyway, the Essential Open Earbuds are here for the holiday season and they're selling fast. Raycon audio products are up to 20% off this holiday season. Go to buyraycon.com/6open. That is SIXOPEN. To save on Raycon audio products site-wide. Order by December 15th. And you will get guaranteed delivery by Christmas because great gifts shouldn't show up late. Thank you very much to Raycon. All right, now back to it. Just to talk about the test server here. When you say the test server kind of gives off like a bad reputation or something like that, do you think that plays in the broader community, or do you think that's just the kind of thing that like the very terminally online they have to deal with? Because I don't know how much of just like the average player even really knows about the test server, let alone has to deal with all the negativity around it.
Yeah, we have to take into account that like the vast majority, in my opinion, are the terminally online hardcore Siege players. Like so,
Mhm.
like or my sampling of the community. So yeah, I don't know. You're probably right. Most people probably don't know. But from everyone I've heard that does talk about the test server, I think the general idea is they always put stuff on there and then it's never fixed, and then the OP shit's never nerfed, and it just always comes out as is. But I think it has a good place, especially for pro practice. I think it's one of the most important things, right? Especially if a tournament's going to be on the new patch.
Yeah. We've lost Mint temporarily as he is fading in and out of reality. So in the meantime, it is just the Fet and I show. Until Kyle is back in fighting form. What did you think about the outpouring of negativity that we saw? Because I was frankly taken a little aback by it. I've played the new season. I quite enjoyed it. I didn't have any problem finding games. I didn't have any problems with cheaters. My biggest gripe when I played was that there's a mic bug right now. So unfortunately, because of that mic bug, we don't have teammates that can always talk. And that's my single biggest pet peeve about Rainbow Six. Chat, YouTube comments, please weigh in here. What is your single biggest pet peeve about this game when you were playing, especially in ranked? Mine, I mean, I think a list of it's going to include like the people who are like on my X and on yellow ping. But the big one for me is like, if you're not communicating, I have said time and time again, I think if you go into ranked and you refuse to communicate and you don't listen to your teammates and you don't talk, you don't ping and you don't help with objectives, you should be banned from playing ranked. I know that that sounds like quite a drastic measure, but frankly, go play quick play or go play one of the other game modes, casual or something. But I don't know. I was caught off guard a little bit by the negativity, Fet. I don't know if you felt the same way, but like I saw all these posts and I was like, my experience is so different from what everybody else is going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly expected it. Like, I also have like the realistic expectation every time that promises are made that it's like, maybe it's too good to be true, especially with the matchmaking stuff that people are complaining about. Obviously, I haven't experienced it, I haven't played myself. But I tend to think that way. When I speak, I try to hype it up because I try to be really optimistic because I think life is to be optimized about, and I wasn't there for like the first Save Siege movement, right? So I was like, I still have like the young, vibrant energy to put forth into it, but I think it was expected. I think it's probably a good thing actually that people aren't like complaining about like the meta, like the actual in-game stuff. From what I've seen, they're more so complaining about like quality of life features when like like you said, communication and queuing and cheaters, right? I think that's good. I think it's not like, oh, New Thatcher fucking ruined Siege, I think so. I think that's good that like, so like it's clear that the direction they took with the game itself was great. And Fortress, people are probably really enjoying it because it seems like really simple. Like it seems like even new players are able to pick it up and they're all enjoying it from what I've heard from like my friends that are playing it that aren't as into the game as I am. So that's really nice. I think, yeah, the queuing thing, I think the idea is just mainly like the idea is like they try to make it more exclusive in matchmaking, and then they also promise the visual rank thing mattering more, and then they promised the cheater thing, and like all three of those kind of fell short. So like it takes longer to get games because they're being more exclusive with the games, but then it takes longer to games and you still go up against emeralds. It's a copper from what I've heard from everyone, and then you still get cheaters after a longer queue. So it's kind of like the compound of those effects that I think. And if you want to pull up the King George tweet, producer David, that people are complaining about. But yeah, I don't think it was surprising.
So like the King George tweet, by the way, will be on your screen. We have two tweets that we have here that are basically naysayers for the new content, and we're never trying to drive hate towards people when we share stuff on our screen. By the way, so if you're one of our viewers, especially the long-term viewers, I'm trying not to be all like, I don't know, wokeist, selfish, social justicey here, so don't like roll your eyes at it, but we don't want to direct like our ire or our fans to spread negativity to other people. That's just not what not what we're in it for. If you don't like people like King George or other people who are tweeting these things, like just try to keep it to yourself here. But basically, King George has been playing this game since day one. There are a few people that have the viewpoints that he has and a few people that have the experience to back it up. And he's never really wavered, right? Like he's been in this game. A lot of content creators have strayed and gone to other games and then failed and then ultimately come back to Siege. And it sucks that they're not able to be successful in their other ventures. But George has always been a pretty dedicated Rainbow Six guy. And I do think, while I often joke about King George quite regularly, and people know that I'm a good friend of his, that I still do respect his judgment to an extent. So the tweet that's on the screen right now says, I think this is the worst Rainbow Six season of all time. I never thought I would say this, but I am probably done with ranked after I hit champion. I played 2 games in 4 hours and both were cheaters. The new matchmaking is one of the worst changes ever made to this game. Walk me through the new matchmaking, because I am not as up to speed on the changes that they made. I haven't noticed much of a difference myself. My games are still relatively the same. The elo seems to be about the same. The people I'm playing against are still about the same. I have noticed almost no changes from last season till now. So what are the matchmaking changes that he's talking about? Because I know Mint also mentioned that people are complaining that it's taking like 2 hours to find a match. What is going on?
So I actually don't know the exact changes they made. I know like the vibe that they were going for, and I think Mint can fill in now that he's spawned back in on the changes. So I know they wanted to make visual rank matter more because of the frustration of, oh, you're copper last season and you should play against, like, you shouldn't be playing against, like, if you're champ last season, you start from copper this season, you shouldn't be playing against champs last season that have been playing for the entirety of this season and are champ already. You should be playing against coppers last season, or sorry, champs last season who are just starting out in the same boat as you, basically. Does that make sense? So it's like your visual rank should match up, which I personally think like that whole thing is just dumb. Like that's my personal opinion. I think it should all. I get it works to get people to play more and like climb more and feel like they're good at the game, but I hate it personally. And then the other thing, and I'm not sure this was implemented or this was said as one of their goals for the future, but I'm pretty sure they said during the reveal that they wanted to make it so that like squads are more likely to match up against other squads. I'm not too sure.
Which is good, which seems good. I don't see how that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Mint, do you remember if that's what part of like the exact changes they made?
I think that was kind of worded in there, yeah. But I mean, you basically covered it. They want matching to be as equal as possible, right? And in theory, that sounds great. If you haven't played in forever, you're also playing against people that probably haven't queued in a while and around the same rank you were when you stopped playing. So like everything, it's trying to be like as perfectly balanced as possible. But the problem is that's just going to create long queue times, and I think that's what we're experiencing right now. Whereas like I'm kind of in the boat where like I just want to play games, man. And it's probably not a good take. It's probably, because pro player, champion. I mean, even me, though, I'm going to get absolutely destroyed in most ranked games. Even with Parker, we're queuing up against people, and we are getting absolutely destroyed by like plats and emeralds and whoever else we're playing against. But I just want to play a game. Like I don't want to sit in a queue at a certain point. I think we were queuing on West Coast servers the other day, Parker.
Yeah.
I remember it was like 10, 15 minutes, and we're at like kind of peak time. I think it was like 10 or 11 o'clock PS.
It was a middle of the day weekday.
Yeah.
So right. I mean, like, I feel like weekdays are always tough.
Definitely, but
school is still in session.
Yeah, school is definitely in session, which is probably a good mix of the player base as well. But I do know, and I don't know if you guys covered it while I was despawned, but one of the I don't know if you guys have seen like the one really weird bug that's kind of happening, which is you could like randomly queue and then you're on a different data server. So I've heard reports where you're on like a South African server. I've heard reports where people got queued up and they're randomly playing on some type of APAC server. That's a weird bug.
Didn't that happen like many years ago? I feel like that happened when I was living in Poland. I feel like at some point when like server jumping was all the rage, I feel like that was happening a lot. Producer David made a very good point. The West Coast is only a small portion of the US's population. If you and I had been queuing East Coast, which we did switch to East Coast because we wanted to avoid the cheaters that one time, if you recall.
Yep.
We started getting queues a lot faster on the East Coast.
Now, is West Coast really only 20% of the US population? Or am I being rage baited here?
No, East Coast is definitely the vast majority.
California alone is 10% of America's population. And keep in mind that like Nevada, Idaho, like Washington and Oregon are not anywhere near that.
West Coast, best coast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey man, I lived pretty much on the West Coast. I like it too. But I mean, the population
No, that
centers are
makes
on the
sense.
East Coast here.
Yeah, East Central, which is what majority of West Coast players will do. I mean,
Yeah.
we were switching around too, but
Yeah.
Producer David brought up a really good point, which is like what I said about like the copper champ thing, whatever. Like, I'm so sorry that was super confusing, but that's effectively what Smurf Q was in League, and I think that actually kind of like lit a light in my head as to like what the problem was with the matchmaking system in Siege for the people that are experiencing it. I know you mentioned you didn't experience it, but um, I think that's highlights the issue. So for people who don't know what Smurf Q is in League, is League of Legends will detect if you are a much better player on a new account and then like place you against much better players on new accounts and basically just negate the effect of you getting a new account just stomping through lower elo and just fucking up people's matchmaking. I think that's great for League. I think the issue is, now that I've realized it, is that Siege has applied that to not just the Smurfs, but 100% of their player base. So, and that's what makes rank so frustrating, and I think you can't play both sides. So, let me dumb it really down from the very beginning. Rank 1.0 was your rank, your elo was your elo. That was it. You go with people similar to your elo. If you 5-stack or you play against people with super high elo, you would win 150 points against them and they would only win 25 points, and the gain loss was, I think, universally the same across the board, right? Nowadays, then they put rank 2.0, and the main goal of rank 2.0 was like an engagement driver, and that's what we started seeing a lot more, games, competitive games in general, mess around with their rank system, where it's like there's a hidden MMR, but then your rank makes you feel like you're progressing. And it came with, I know this is not necessarily the truth, but the general poor reputation with it, I believe, linked to a concept that like as long as you play enough, you will progress and hit champ. And one, that put a lot of terrible players up in champ, and two, the matchmaking wasn't all the way there, because the way it works is that you're playing against people at your hidden MMR, but your visual rank is just this progression system. It's like a level system, basically,
Yeah.
just based on purely off the amount of games you played. And I know, like, like the devs, it's different, chat. Like, I don't want people thinking like what I'm saying is not exactly how the system works. There's a lot of safeguards and mechanisms in place to make sure people actually are getting to the ranks. And I think most people are actually around where their rank should be. I do agree it's still a rank system. What I'm saying purely is like the filtered vibe of what the competitive community has taken, from what I've heard from everyone, of what their take on rank 2.0. So now they're kind of trying to play both sides, which is where I don't think it works. It's like trying to make health insurance half government based and half capitalist based. Doesn't work, right? Terrible analogy. Terrible analogy. Please don't listen to call. I have no political opinion on that, by the way. I'm not informed
He
at all.
tweeted about
whatsoever.
politics the other day, and less than 24 hours after he tweets it, he DMs me and he's like, "Never let me tweet about politics again."
I got like 40,000 likes. Oh, it was
Popped
so
off,
bad.
dude. You went
It was
super
so
viral. I
bad.
was very happy to see it.
Oh my god.
He doesn't tweet
Yeah.
about our show, but he'll tweet about politics. That's how
Oh,
that's how
I'll make
Fat
sure to
operates
do-
his Twitter.
That's my Twitter. But yeah, you can't. I think you can't play both sides to where, like, first of all, they're trying to play that rank 2.0 system where they're like champs play champs, but they're both champs, but they're both playing to get champ, but they both were last champ last season. And then coppers play coppers for the entirety of the season, basically, to get to champ. Golds play golds to get the champ. Silvers play silvers to get the champ. Emeralds play emeralds to play the champ. Now they're restricting it more by being like, okay, we're going to try to have you play against champs that haven't played that much this season. And I think that's where people are failing to find games. I think if you're starting at a lower rank, that's fine, but just let them play against the shitters. I don't know the effect on the player base it has. I don't know if it makes new players like quit the game if they go up against a champ. But like, I think it's a little bit poisonous to the game if we're just honest to God. Like, what was that term like that like, like for college admissions? AA. It starts with an A. It was like you have to have. Never mind, bro. Affirmative action. That's the
affirmative
one. It's like
action?
ranked affirmative action. Okay. It's like I think it's poor in that in the sense that, like, why are we having a champ play a champ to get champ, a copper to play copper to get champ, and now the visual ranks have to be closer, and now there's less games when a big part of the population is okay to be at the lower elo, and just if you're gonna start them as a lower elo, it's fine, so they play the game more, but just throw them in there with them. I think it's fine, personally. But I don't know.
I think the rank system is never going to please everybody. You know, there's been a lot across a lot of esports. There's been a lot of debate over what metrics you show the average player, right? Like, so for example, there was a period of time, if you'll recall, where in Overwatch 1, they're like, we are not showing how much damage everybody does or how much healing everybody does, etc. We're going to show you what yours is, and if you're in the top 3, you're going to get a medal. So if you've most damage on your team, you've got a little gold medal next to it. If you have second most healing in the game, it's going to show a little silver medal next to it. The idea, Blizzard said, was to try and cut down on toxicity, because you can look at, like, let's say you have a DPS who's underperforming and all of those stats are visible. Somebody in the community is going to look at that DPS and be like, dude, you're doing only 5,000 damage and the healers have more damage than you. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I understand Blizzard's desire to do that. But I also think in a team-based game, more data is typically better. And it can help make educated decisions, because if you're a DPS and you're doing 5,000 damage and, like, let's say you have the silver medal, you don't know if your damage is good or not because you don't see the damage your opponents are doing, and you don't know what gold damage is on your team. If gold damage on your team is like 17K and gold damage on their team is like 18K, and you've got silver damage on your team with 5K, you are completely flying blind. You don't necessarily know how poorly you're doing. I understand where Blizzard was coming from, because toxicity like that does happen. We see it in Rainbow Six with the ranks being shown. You know, you'll queue into a game, and I'm guilty of it. Where I'll queue into a game and I will look at the enemy team and they're all like emerald, 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 plat, emerald. And then my team is like emerald, copper, copper, silver, gold. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Even though I know that the actual rank icons don't really matter, it's still a cause of frustration. So do you get rid of them? Well, for a period of time, they did. Ubisoft got rid of the ranked icons and you had no idea what rank everybody was. And now they've reverted it. There's no winning, because there's always going to be portions of the community who understand both of those arguments. And frankly, I don't really know which argument I support more. This is another great time to do a call to action for the people here in the chat. What do you think? Do you think all that data should be public? Do you think that everybody's kill feeds and ranks, or kills and ranks and all that stuff, should be made public, or should it be held back because it's not of the utmost importance? Because I honestly don't know where I'm coming at from this. Like, there's a part of me that's like, I want to know the ranks of the people I'm playing against. But at the same time, I also understand that I can mentally boom immediately with bond queuing into a game if I see that there's a huge discrepancy in ranks. And even if those emeralds are not actually supposed to be emerald, it doesn't matter, because in the moment, I'm mad. I'm tilted. And when you're tilted and you're mad, you're probably going to play worse. So, like, the developers and all of these game companies are just trying to please a bunch of different stakeholders that all have different beliefs and all have different needs and desires. And I don't know if there is like a universal solution, or maybe you rotate it. Maybe one season you do show the ranks, maybe one season you don't, and see ultimately what player satisfaction says, and then just go from there.
Yeah, and I think like from like what we've seen multiple games try to do, like Blizzard, like other games, and I'm sure producer David can weigh in on this with experience with League and CS. I think ultimately maybe the harshest truth might be the right answer. You know, we've seen games try to, like, I think one of the biggest issues with the rank 2.0, like leftover, moving into this new system, is that it's a system geared at creating basically engagement. It's like an engagement driver. It's like the TikTok. Okay, I need to stop making analogies. That's what I'm going to learn this episode. Stop now. I was going to say it's like the TikTok brain rot Subway Surfer equivalent for Siege matchmaking, where you're just trying to get more games, and everyone wants to play because they're progressing. But I think ultimately it's wrong, because I think like hidden MMR in different games serves a different purpose. Hidden MMR in different games serves a purpose that where like you are playing on a much higher level than you're supposed to be, so you're going to gain elo faster to get to your level. But the ultimate goal is to get you to the right number you're supposed to be at. I feel like in Siege that does happen, but it's like it also is for people to like feel better about themselves and want to play more, because like I said, it's like silvers playing against silvers for the whole season to get the champ, and now they have a champ badge, and then it carries on the next season, and now the game thinks they're champ, and it affects the the higher tier matchmaking. So I think it kind of came at it the wrong idea, where I think the harshest truth might be the reality. A rank that just says how good you are. The number itself or the display itself is how good you are. Hidden MMR can be there to get you there faster if you're meant to be there faster, but it's just how good you are. And I think that's what makes the greatest overall amount of people play. Now that I looked back on how games were played back then and how games are played now, because I know Overwatch tried to do their stupid elo system, and now look at their game, right? I don't know. I haven't heard a peep out of them personally. I know they
Well, Overwatch 2's changed it, right? Overwatch 2 shows all that now. It shows how much damage everybody's doing. It shows yeah.
And yeah, speaking on the toxicity thing, like I know there's a lot of points for it. Like I agree, like when big streamers play the game and then people are just like saying the stupidest shit on voice chat, terrible look for the game. But at the same time, one of the biggest issues this season is the auto detection system has just been like muting players for just calming. And now everyone's terrified of calming. Like I think that's one of the biggest fly under the radar issues that happened this season is like people don't want to use their microphone anymore because they're terrified of getting like reputation ban and like voice ban and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
I hold on. I was playing the other day on Skyscraper. I said the word geisha twice and I got 2 warnings back to back saying that like harmful voice or disruptive voice chat had been detected, warning. And I was like, okay guys, I'm going to clear out geisha. I'm going to drone geisha. All right, there's 1 in geisha right now, 1 geisha. And then I got 2 pop-ups and I'm like, look, I am probably one of the more loud proponents of taking relatively extreme measures to get rid of toxicity in game. And I've spoke about this my whole career. The current system that they have is fucking terrible. It is horrible. This is one of the few times where I'm actually going to get pissed off talking about this subject matter because it is so fucking bad. Like when I type water is water and my message gets held because it's bad, and then I say, guys, there's 1 in geisha, and I get a warning probably because of the word gay being in it. That's my guess. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like it is a chilling effect where people are afraid to talk, where people are getting banned for innocuous stuff. And yet the idiots are still finding creative ways to put slurs in chat. Like all you're doing is punishing the wrong people. Like I already have enough people in my games who don't talk ever. And now you've instituted a system where even people like me are like, well, fuck, I guess I shouldn't say anything because if I catch a comm ban because I said the word geisha, which is a fucking word in your own fucking game, how on earth can anybody actually trust that the system is going to work properly? Like it blows my mind that this makes it through all these different phases of testing. Like, get rid of it. It was one of the points on that Save Siege document that I very strongly agreed with. And it's like the voice detection system they have is ass. It's terrible. And like I've received a bunch of them, by the way. When I'm saying normal things, I've received a bunch of warnings, but that one was the most egregious. And it got right under my skin. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here if me using an in-game call out in your own game is getting me flagged for voice chat? What is this system? It either needs to be fixed immediately or you need to disable it. Period.
yeah, and no, that's valid crash out. I wasn't gonna say all that, but to your point, like
I crashed out.
Rare and tarot crash out. And I'll do a call to action off of this too. But this is another point where I'm like, maybe the harsh answer is the truth. Like maybe people and on the I know toxicity is bad for the game. Like I agree for you 100%. But maybe in the broader scope of things for the average community, maybe they are okay with it. Maybe they even like it. And like you said, if it's going to stop people from even wanting to come, what's the point? Like, the vast majority of my generation of gamers grew up on games of Call of Duty where they would just hop on and say the most egregious shit to each other for hours on end, and that's how they had fun, and they just would not stop hopping on. Like, it never stopped them from hopping on. And now's my call to action, as I know the viewers of this podcast aren't necessarily that young, because I know, like, 6 on 6, you know, OG show, right? But if there's any of my viewers in the chat who are younger, what do you think? Like, has the landscape shifted for you, where it's like, okay, if you get bullied, if you get, let's say the word, if you get cyber bullied, are you gonna leave? Are you gonna stop playing the game? Are the developers' fears correct for the average community, not just like the PR of a big Twitch streamer? Or do you also just enjoy shit talking people and arguing people and getting into yelling matches? And as a result, is the system really all that necessary on all ends? You know? And so here's where I really just question, like, what do you guys think? Is the harshest system the way for both Elo, for both toxicity? Is it just like, have it be what it is? You know, there's the risk of toxicity when there is voice chat. There's, you know, have rank just mean the rank, and maybe that's actually what gets the most amount of people to just play. No hidden layers, no twist, no turns, no twists, just straightforward as it is.
I think it's a good point. And you know, like I said, there's been a breakdown, obviously, in how you can handle cheating and toxicity in video games. I know I've said this before on the show when we've talked about, there used to be community servers where if you wanted to go play like Counter-Strike, you could play on a community server. You could still do that, by the way, in some of these games. But very slowly, video game or developers decided, that's a joke, it was very quick, almost overnight, that like, hey, dedicated servers actually hurt our ability to make content and hurt our ability to pump out new versions of the game. Let's get rid of them and just move everything to one size fits all matchmaking, which means now there's no power, right? If you want to go fire up a game of Counter-Strike and play in a server, there's an admin or a mod likely somewhere around that can deal with a cheater immediately or can deal with toxicity right away. You know, I used to mod Team Fortress 2 servers. You know, you'd have somebody join it and they'd start saying slurs, and it was like a kick command takes 2 seconds to type and they're gone. Problem is solved. That you can't do that anymore. Now it's like you end up in a cheater, he's in the same elo as you, or you end up with somebody who's a toxic team killer or just a griefer, and they throw your elo and you both lose, and then you queue again immediately. There is a high likelihood you're gonna get them again. There's no mechanism to deal with this. Earlier today, I was playing League of Legends. The guy who played support has over 100 losses more than he has wins. He immediately comes top lane with me playing support. Doesn't go bottom at all. Only plays top lane, starts stealing CS, tries to grief and int into the opponent. And I just have to deal with this, and there's nothing I can fucking do. I'm powerless until surrender comes up at 15 seconds. And unless 3 of my other teammates vote to end the game, because you know that this guy's immediately going to shut down a surrender just to prolong the griefing, what can I do? You just get stuck in this match, right? And this is something that's become a greater problem now that there are fewer tools to deal with bad actors, and games are coming out, especially a game like Rainbow Six, where there's a near unlimited amount of levers that these guys can pull to fuck with your game, right? Like somebody can run around destroying all of your gadgets in prep phase and then shoot you a couple times to deal some serious damage in one round, and reverse friendly fire won't even kick in. They can sit typing in chat where your location is. If they're on attack, they can shoot their own teammates' drones. Nothing can be done about it. You can't kick the guy from the game. You're stuck in this lobby for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and you're powerless. So it's like, yeah, I do agree that it's good that you put measures in place to deal with people like this. I'm 35 years old. I literally grew up on Call of Duty. You know all those people who say like you wouldn't last 5 seconds in a Call of Duty lobby? Which I lasted over a decade in Call of Duty lobbies. I'm not offended by a kid saying the N-word. I'm not offended by sexist or racist jokes. They bore me because I've heard them a gajillion times, and 90% of the time, They're not very creative. It's the same fucking 3 jokes trotted out time and time again. But as a 35-year-old, I have things I want to do, and I just want to play the fucking game. Like Mint said, I just want to enjoy the game. I don't want to have to babysit children. I don't want to have to hear shit that was not even funny when I was in high school. Like, I just want to play the game, man. I'm not offended by it. I know that there are people who are offended by it. I know that there are people for whom those insults are meant to upset, are getting upset by it. So it's like when you add all this stuff together, we should be doing everything in our power to limit and restrict those bad actors. But a catch-all system is going to punish a lot of good people or people who are just saying the word geisha. Like, I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you address it. And I mean, a lot of the time for Ubisoft, this issue has been, let's just get rid of it. Too many people were literally setting like Hitler and swastikas as their avatars on Ubisoft Connect. They got rid of the ability for you to upload your own avatar. Too many people were using offensive words in the streamer names. They got rid of the ability for you to choose your own streamer name. They are not moderating this. They're just saying, fuck it, let's get rid of the power that the players have because clearly people are going to be bad actors. Is that the solution we want? Is it the only way to go about this? Like, is that where we're at? Like, how do you fix this? I genuinely, like, I just don't know. I honestly don't know. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I just want to play the game and not be subject to children that want to waste my time. That's it. I don't think that's too much to ask. Well, excuse the technical difficulties here. It would be, it would seem that Mint's home Wi-Fi is having some issues. So he's actually rejoining this call in a very convenient way. Our good friend Mint uses our next sponsor's product. That's Mint Mobile. And because of Mint Mobile's reliable and strong and fast signal, Mint can actually join us on his phone on Discord. You should see a static image somewhere on your screen. I don't know if he's left or right. I don't know where he is. But he's a static image. When you hear him speak, it's because he is now off of his home Wi-Fi and he is on Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile, of course, is not available in Canada. I would use it if I could, but our good friend Mint uses it. I have friends who use it in the States. They all rave about it. So, hey, if you're looking for a reliable wireless service that's got a good provider, at an affordable rate with strong signal across all of America, you should check out Mint Mobile. So, to say thanks to our sponsor and to keep up with the information they have provided, turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/6, S-I-X. That's mintmobile.com/6. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 minimum of month equivalent taxes and fees. Extra initial plan term. 35 gigabytes of data or more may slow down when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage vary. See mintmobile.com. I want to see how fast I can get that out moving forward.
You are so talented.
I try my best. That I know that they are actually our sponsor, but no shit. Mint is actually on Mint Mobile, and he is able to rejoin this call on significantly better service than his home internet right now because of Mint Mobile. So that is genuinely a great way to sell this platform and sell this service. So, Mint, first and foremost, welcome back.
Yeah, I apologize for the issues. I unfortunately had to listen to Fett and Parker talk for 10 minutes, and I couldn't say anything. But shout out to Mint Mobile for I'm able to talk. I'm here. I'm on my phone. This is even better.
Dude, like, you guys, for the actual audience, like, it went like this. He started like becoming a robot. He started hitting right? And then yeah, I got talents like I got talents like that. And then David goes, "Can you switch to your data?" And then Mint goes, "Yeah," and he switches, and it's just crisp. And he's like, "I'm probably lagging right now too." I don't know, no, like you heard just now, his voice is just fucking crisp. So I mean, that was like the most brilliant natural segue into a sponsorship I've seen. But holy shit!
Yeah, we talked about this behind the
I want
scenes
you
while
guys
we
to
were.
know that there's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just was gonna say, I just want you to know that there's probably a smile in my face.
It was a great
from
picture.
whatever
It's a great picture of you.
But I am sad I'm not on camera anymore.
Yeah. It was an incredible
Everything.
segue. Mint is here thanks to Mint Mobile. So Mint talking about being here thanks to Mint. Look at that. Let's talk about this very briefly before we turn to our final topic of the day, which will be the regional results. Both EML and SAL wrapped up today, so we can talk about those. It is Sunday for those that are keeping track. We were quite busy this week, what with me casting and doing other work. So we were not able, and Mint and Fet were both away for a little bit, so we weren't able to record earlier, and we figured we wanted more time for people to digest that M80 episode. But for this one, very, very quick thoughts, because we'll spend more of next week talking about a couple salient points when it comes to Operation Tenfold Pursuit. A big one is the limb damage changes. Those are supposed to be coming in just under a week. They should be live on, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. So there's a good chance that we will be able to record the next episode after those limb changes go live. This was something that was very widely and hotly requested by the community. I don't know if you guys are, just very quickly, I'm pro limb change. I don't know if you both feel the same.
Pro limb change isn't pro take it away, or pro like keep having limb damage be lower? Because I'm pro limb change. I'm pro like have all the damage be the same across the body, because that's Siege.
Yeah, that I agree. I agree with Fet. That's Siege, and there's a lot of times in pro play where we, especially with shields, I think is going to make shields a little bit less oppressive. So shout out to Ubi for, again, it was a hotly talked about subject that we wanted reverted, and they did it very, very quickly. If it is going up on Wednesday next week, I mean, that's actually huge.
It was the 11th,
and that's going to make, again,
saw.
shields. Okay, so it's gonna make shields a lot less annoying to kind of play against, as you're gonna be able to shoot their feet right out. The other thing though is because we are heading into that DMR meta with the new DMRs on a ton of operators, it's gonna make them even more deadly. We're gonna be seeing people just drone hole people and like 2-tap with the DMR. So we're gonna have to see back and forth, but overall, I think this is a huge change. And again, shout out to the dev team for acting quickly on that.
I love the new DMR, by the way.
It's fun.
Oh, isn't it so fun?
It's great.
Fun.
That thing is rad.
Whoa, let's not talk about overpowered right now.
Nothing about it. I think DMR meta is not as bad as like LMG meta, so I'm personally okay with it. And I want to give praise to Ubisoft that, like, I think it's always oh, we're doomsaying season after season. But I think this one, I want to give the praise that it does seem like they're on it. They're on it fast. Like the limb changes, the reverse is going to come through, and then the first wave of taking out that big cheat developer like almost immediately. They're hard at work, and they're clearly listening. Right? They're like, it's not like they're ignoring us. Like, are the developers saying, we have 200 years of combined developing experience. What do you know about game development? Sorry, that was a crazy dig. That's my favorite game developer that I just threw a dig at. But I think it's great. And I don't know. I think the limb damage thing also is like good, because there was that one clip of Diffuser. Like, he had a guy prone in a corner, saw his feet, shot like 40 bullets into it, and the guy just stood up, headshotted him. And I think that just shouldn't happen if you have that kind of advantage. I think Siege is an unforgiving game, and that's just how it is. And sadly, you need to die to pixels to learn how to play the game, and that's just the nature of the game. Rest of the changes, like I said, I just think a lot of it's quality of life, and I think that's good. I think that's things that are targetable, tackleable. I think they're pretty massive things, but I think like it's good that people aren't just hating the game itself. And it goes back to the main point I made in my video about Save Siege, and the main point we made when we first brought up the topic on this podcast is the playability of the game is what matters most. I think you can have a conceptually horrible game that's playable, Valorant, and everyone will still play it. So yeah.
Very, very quickly then, because I don't want to I don't want to spend too much time on this, because this will actually take up a great deal of our next episode, which will be discussing the overarching changes of Tenfold Pursuit. But I do think it is a good idea for us to go about it in a way where we can reference back our thoughts. We are only a couple days into new changes to Operation Tenfold Pursuit. Big ones, obviously, being all the Hard Breacher changes, Hibana changes, Thermite changes, Maverick, whatever, Ace changes, the Mute changes. What are the hits and what are the misses? What are the things you think are great? What do you think the things that they kind of flubbed? And last one would be what more could be changed? I know we talked about Grim being too strong before. Is he still an operator that needs a change? Let's start with the good first. Fet, what's the good so far this season? Just give me two things. I don't need a list. I just need one or two things that jump to mind immediately that you're like, these are things that they really nailed in terms of operator balancing, map pool, etc.
Our Breach good, Thatcher good, Fortress good.
All right, that's very quick. Mint.
That was so fast.
That was incredible.
Almost
You
as
had
fast
that
as
one in
my
the can. He was just loaded, ready.
Yeah. I mean, hey, banger. I literally would fully agree with Fet. I mean, Fortress is a great map. Skyscraper's stinky, so get it out of here. The Hard Breach is extremely fun to play now, and I think that was probably the best change. So
I'll jump in and say the same thing here. The Hibana change is I love it. The Type 89 is great, cool. The DMR is awesome. It's always been really clunky to like use her gun, to pull it out, to shoot it, to reload it, to activate it. It's just super clunky. And again, it goes back to the way the game feels is really important. Hibana has never felt good. I know that they made these changes. Like, for example, like when you reload the PDW, whether you're Osa or Jackal, they like jam the mag in an awkward angle and then have to like tilt it and do whatever. And it's like, people are like, why don't they just put it in normally? The reason why it takes longer is to balance the gun. Same with like the logic bombs. Like, why are you slamming your phone like you've never encountered this before? And then when it happens a second time a minute later, why have you not figured it out? People are like, oh, look, why don't they know? It's because there's a time behind it. Yeah, I think that the way that the logic bomb is turned off is very stupid. I've actually said that they should change this a billion times because like, why do you have some of the smartest counter ops in the world, like tapping their phone like a senior citizen that's never seen technology? Like, why don't they fix it? But either way, it doesn't really matter. I think Hibana feels great. I was very critical of the Thatcher changes. I like the new Thatcher. I think he's really cool. I still just don't understand why you didn't bring in. I just do it to IQ, but whatever. Fine, sure, all that. In terms of the misses, what did they miss on? What do you think is a swing and a miss? Changes you think went too far? Changes that didn't go far enough? Mint, I guess I'll start with Mint because Fet sped through it last time.
so fast. Wow. Okay. I'm going to take this one before anyone else can take it because Parker, you touched on it, but I think the mute change, I'm not a big fan of specifically for Grim. I just think it makes Grim like so overpowered, and Grim is already overpowered. Grim literally has everything. Like Grim and Capitao literally have everything as execute operators. They're the best at executing. Grim's got a bailiff. Capitao's got to go on 6. They both get the cans and the EMPs. They both got great guns. Like, there's just no reason to not bring any of them. And now that Mute doesn't counter, and the only counter to Grim now is, like, Vigil, which you're just not going to bring a Vigil on, like, Clubhouse Basement, which I'd say you're never, but I actually seen a team do that recently. But, yeah, it's just I feel like something has to be done there with Grim, probably. I don't know. I would have liked to mute because I feel like the bees still kind of get activated. Like you shoot them and then the bees come out. I don't know. I feel like I should have still countered it, but that's the big one for me.
Mute useless.
He said mute useless for those that didn't hear. Look, this might be an unpopular thing. I don't think the mute changes are a miss because I am actually okay with seeing a lot less mute. Look, like I've said this with certain ops before. I said this with Solus. I said it with Azami. I said it with Fenrir. Look, if I never see Fenrir in my game ever again, I'm happy. I don't care if he's. I don't care. I hate that op. Like I dislike him. I'm getting to the same point with Blackbeard now, where it's like, I don't need to see these ops in my game as frequently as I do. I don't give a shit if they spend like 6 months in the wilderness. Like, it was kind of nice not having a Solus run around and shoot all your drones in prep phase and then spend the entire map hunting drones and playing underneath in ranked. Like, I like the Solus changes solely because it's like, I want to break from her. Right? And it's like the same with Mute. Mute is really strong for gadget denial. really strong against hard breach, really strong against droning, strong against Lion, strong against Intel Ops, strong against Flores, strong against Brava. I guess Brava technically can out aim him if you're smart. And it's just like, man, like Mute counters like everything. And he's just such a pain in the ass to deal with from a ranked perspective. I got 4 guys on my team. None of them have microphones. Half of them don't have eyes. One of them doesn't have an elbow. And it's like, I'm watching them try to navigate the map and they're just running into Mute jammers. And I'm like, please just get rid of this operator so I don't have to deal with this. I'm actually very okay with Mute spending some time in the wilderness solely because it's like, he's frustrating. He enables a part of gameplay that I don't think is very healthy for solo queue. I think Mute obviously is very strong for ranked play, but I am actually okay. And I think the Mute nerfs are a hit for me. The miss in my eyes is not nerfing DMRs. And I know that this is going to be unpopular, but I mean, Mint, you are the DMR whisperer here on this show. I don't really see in most instances, unless you can't aim and you're relying on your recoil to go all the way up to hit somebody in the head, I really don't see a reason why you'd run anything over a DMR at this point in time, especially the new DMR. It has absolutely no recoil. It hits like a truck. It's amazing. You just shred people. I think the miss is not dialing back DMRs a little bit. You know, whether it be making their rate of fire a little slower, whether it be increasing recoil between shots so it takes time to recenter, whether it be just reducing damage a tiny bit or increasing fall off damage, whether it be getting rid of ACOGs for the defenders that have DMRs. Like, there's a lot of different mechanisms they can do to reduce the power of DMRs. To me, the miss is that you didn't address it. And maybe there is a tweak coming somewhere down the line. Maybe they deliberately want to leave DMRs powerful so that more people will feel inclined to use the new weapon, which, by the way, is locked behind the battle pass, which I think is ridiculous. I think that is an absurd decision. I don't know why they locked a gun behind the battle pass. I think that's scummy anti-consumer behavior. I do not like it at all. But like, I can understand, I guess, why they would do this. Because there is a belief, right, where like an operator is really overpowered, or you give a big buff to an operator, and then you release a bunch of skins, and they sell really well, and then once the sales turn down, you dial down the operator. I get it. Maybe they're doing that with DMRs. But I think the miss here is that DMRs are a tiny bit too strong, both on attack and defense, and I think they could have addressed that. And yeah, to your point, Grim is really strong, and I do expect him to get nerfed at some point.
Yeah, and I think if you would have said also, like, yeah, I mean, misses, you're right. I thought there was going to be a section about something else they could have done as well, and I would have said the same thing. I mean, DMRs. I think me and Fett kind of brainstormed a little bit on the last podcast with, like, they don't need 21 bullets, they need 11, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, where they're still high powered, they still kill people in 2 to 3 shots, but like 21 bullets compared to the defender DMR where they only get 11 doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I agree with that. We were supposed to do a section. Sorry, Fat. We were supposed to do a section where we address things that could be added to the game, but just for the interest of time, let's just move it to next week, because I know Fett, while we were on a very quick break, Fett really wants to talk about the EML finals.
Yeah. I also just wanted to say, like, yeah, I agree with you, the DMR, because I don't think it's that unpopular of an opinion, because I think every pro holds the opinion that DMRs are too powerful. There's a strat on border where you just run 5 DMRs, and the multiple teams do that strat on attack, where you literally just run 5 DMRs just for the sake of running 5 DMRs, and you sit outside and you hold angles for the entire round. And it's like, it's such a small attacker side of map that it works, because you open up a window and you just hold like the biggest cut angle in the world from a million miles away and spawn, and you just 3-shot people. That being said, all those changes sound great that you suggested, and then I think there could be like different niches for DMRs to fill. I think there's just they fill up too much of like what they're good at. They're good at breaking barricades, they're good at making holes, they're good at opening hatches, they're good at breaking the zombies, and they're good at like 3-shotting people. I think you need to take away a couple of those. Like, make them take the same amount of bullets as an AR to open a barricade, so it's like literal fucking hell trying to open the barricade with a DMR. Then you have uses for other weapons and meleeing, and then it's like a trade-off. And I like trade-offs. But speaking of trade-offs, let's trade this topic for the next one. The regional finals. So the regional finals took place recently.
That's a good one. I like that.
It's terrible.
Let's one last call to action before
Yes.
you trade over. I want to know what the good people think of the new season. What are your thoughts on Operation Tenfold Pursuit? What are the hits? What are the misses? Are you facing cheaters too? Are you dealing with server issues? Are you getting DDoS? Do you like the changes to hard breachers? Do you dislike them? I want to know your thoughts. Please weigh in. And again, we read every comment. We respond to a bunch of them. I want to know what you guys think of Operation Tenfold Pursuit because it is relatively light on content. There are some big changes, but relatively light on content. I want to know what the overall vibe is. All right.
Yeah.
Your transition now to the next topic.
Speaking of Travis, I'm joking. I'm not gonna say it again. The recent regional finals happened, and to a lot of people, they're confused by the significance of them. And I've realized a lot of people actually don't understand the circuit as a whole from a casual viewer perspective. So, the regional finals serve as a glorified Six Invitational qualifier. What is the Six Invitational? It is the biggest Rainbow Six Siege tournament in the world, the most prestigious one, the biggest prize pool. You get a hammer, the most competitive format, and you get to call yourself in olden times world champion until the Brazilians started winning, and then they started calling every major a world championship as well. But that being said, I've realized a lot of people in my audience didn't really know. They're like, why? How come the major qualification took so long and SI qualification took a game? And it's because you build up SI points throughout the whole year. So every event counts towards SI except for Esports World Cup because it's a third-party event, as it should not. It should never. And I think if it does ever, terrible, right? But he's like the Pro League stages, the Munich Major, and now the regional finals. The Munich Major was worth a fuck ton because you win that, you should definitely just first sure to go to SI. That's where Amadi is. They're locked in. Other teams were not. And that's why they had to do well in the regional finals. And you had teams like G2 who had made grand finals of EWC but weren't qualified. You had teams like SR who just weren't qualified because they bombed out of Munich within the Swiss stage. You had teams like Team Secret who won EWC and were not qualified for SI until they won games. So we've talked about a couple EU teams. I think it'd be a good time to, I guess, start with EU, right? Would you?
I think it's good to start with the EU. Absolutely. I mean, they were the first league to finish. Their results were posted earlier today. It was a relatively long day. Penahone won the T2 component. I casted them actually for the Spoy Contender Series. So it was in Malta, and it was a LAN. And who won today, Fat?
The Pro League team or the T2 team? The Pro League team.
The Pro League team.
The Pro League team that won today was Falcons. And
Who did they beat in the finals?
Was against G2 in the finals. They have been on a tear of just owning G2. Stop and join G2 in the first stage of Pro League, and they dominated Falcons in both not dominated, but beat them in the regular stage and the playoffs. And we thought we had a new king in the EU. Falcons and Shaiko fired back immediately after the next stage, and they are on a 5-game winning streak. In the last 5 games, they have not dropped a single game against G2. So that's nuts. And Shaiko's playing probably the best Siege we've ever seen him ever play. Now, at the LAN event so far, let me just recap from the very beginning. G2 had to beat Gen G to make SI. Because they beat Gen G, they guarantee themselves top 3 at 400 SI points, which qualified them for SI. Secret had to, I believe, also make it to top 3, and they ended up losing to Falcons and running through a lower bracket of Virtus Pro. The lower bracket before that was Virtus Pro BDS, Gen G. And then they dropped down to the next match after that. They played with one against Virtus Pro, and now Secret qual for SI as well. The days at the LAN that were actually played was an upper bracket final, G2 versus Falcons, where Falcons 7-2'd them in the last 2 maps pretty hard in order to make it to that grand final. G2 then 2-0'd Secret, and then we got a grand final where Falcons again 2-0 G2. Now, I really wanted to talk about this because this was not, I feel like, a normal event. At this point in the tournament, the stakes were a bit off. There was no more pressure to win besides glory and being able to say you're the best in EU and a pretty hefty prize pool of $100,000 plus, right? I think the biggest talking point of this tournament was that Falcons were not practiced for the tournament. Shaiko and the team has said they were not practiced for the tournament. Why were they not practiced for the tournament? Because SI's played on an entirely different patch. Falcons were already qualified for SI due to their performance at the Munich Major and the 2 Pro League stages prior. They're top 2 in both Pro League stages, top 2 at the Munich Major. They're going to make SI no matter what. SI's on a new patch. There's no fucking reason to not just focus all your efforts on SI, as we heard from M80 last stage. So Falcons were not practiced, no strats. LickyFact said in an interview, or Julia said in an interview, we're have LickyFact on a looser IGL, micromanaging less, letting them do whatever they want. They were all just having fun. Shaiko was typing the whole time. Every time he got TK'd, he said his team was trolling. He locked in Ashe in the G2 game every single attack round except for one. And I believe one of the EU Twitter people said, like, we're seeing 2018 Shaiko again. But it looked easier for them than ever before. And I think one of the big talking points is, like, I know it didn't matter as much for G2 and Secret either, but they had to win this tournament. Like, they had to win games in this tournament. They had to scrim on the old patch for this tournament. They were running their old strats, and their timeouts were a lot more serious than Falcons' timeouts. Falcons' timeouts were very chill, very composed, very basic, very scrim-like. Like, my best analogy that I made when watching these games was that if you were coaching Falcons and if you were coaching G2 and these games were a scrim, you would yell at Falcons after the scrim because you would say they're literally wasting your time and they're trolling. G2 and Secret look like they're just playing the regular game. They're taking their time. Savage is still yelling at his team. Falcons that haven't practiced, joking about everything, laughing everything off, insta-locking Shaiko on Ashe every single round, made them look like a cakewalk. And I think that speaks, honest to God, on maybe the biggest thing holding back the Falcons is that mental. I think they genuinely, in those grand finals, they're mental booming every single time. Even at Munich, they were howling like wolves, woo, woo, making like those crazy fucking noises.
Shaiko barked.
Yeah, until grand finals.
Yeah.
And it stopped. And then they lost again. So I keep talking about it, but there's an alternate reality where Shaiko wins 4 out of 4 of those grand finals and is without a doubt the greatest player in the history of Siege to ever touch the game, period, no bar, no comparison, right? Maybe there's a comparison, but like exaggeration-wise, no comparison. But that's not the case because they keep mental booming in finals. I think that's a talking point. What do y'all think?
We've said this, I think, a few times here, where I think if you look at the roster of Falcons, there's no real weak links here. I spoke with a couple teams when we were in Munich, and they even said, like, if you were to replace somebody on that team, who are you replacing him with who? Who is improving that team? Any improvements are going to be so minimal that it's not really worth it. And I agree. But just because you have a great team on paper doesn't mean it's going to be great in practice. And again, I think to your point, I do think emotions get to them. They are a deeply emotional team. Solitov's emotional, LeakyFact's emotional, like Julio's emotional, like Stuflex is emotional, like Uzis can be as well, like Shaiko can be too. Like, the only player on the team who never really shows a ton of emotion and is just cool as a cucumber is Bride. That dude is lethal. But like the rest of the team, they play for a huge organization with more money than God. Falcons undoubtedly has a ton of expectations on them. If you were in Munich, they had an entourage. There was like 20 people circling this team everywhere they went. Like, there is no universe when an org spends this amount of money that you shouldn't be winning multiple chips. And yet they aren't, right? Like this core, the only big I'm ignoring EWC because I do not care about EWC. But like ignoring EWC, the only thing they won was that Jönköping major, which was like a rinky dink little major that we had in the back of a DreamHack, like, convention hall. Like, I agree with you. I think when they play with limited weight on their shoulders, they're almost unbeatable. But the problem is that they are their own worst enemies. And when the spotlights get brighter and hotter and stronger, they shrink instead of growing. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if maybe you have to move a couple players off and maybe even take a downgrade on skill, but an increase in team cohesion, an increase in play under pressure. I'm not sure. I'm not a coach. I can't diagnose it. There's no reason why that team shouldn't be winning multiple majors, and yet they don't. I don't know if Kyle has a different opinion or not, but
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. The Falcons are they're super stacked. They have superstars at every single role on their team. You could argue that they should be winning more, and it is 100% their mental. So I agree with Fett on that. It's got to be their mental. We on Unwanted, and any other time we would play them on BDS or before they were the Falcons, going up to the Falcons, we would deliberately try to tilt the enemy team. So we would try to tilt like effect because that was their weakness. We would run shields, we would run cheese, we would do whatever it took so they would have to call a timeout, and like effect would crash out on the team. And we would take pride in that, and like that was our game plan. That was literally our game plan. But I think they've caught on to that. They brought on the psychologist, the therapist, whatever it is. They got the staff of 20 people at this point. They're working on the issue with the being more loose, the yawoos, the howling like wolves, Shaiko typing in chat. I think all of it is deliberately trying to get them to be loose and not be thinking about the end result. And we do see it working, but I don't know. Another fantastic point, Fat. Like, why do they stop doing it in grand finals? I don't know. It's like when the pressure's on, the spotlight's on. Like, that is when they need it the most. And I, as a coach, always try to focus on the mental. So that is a great, great point. I would love to see them, because that is a realistic world. Like, what if they were playing like this in grand finals? There was two grand finals off the bat that they probably shouldn't have lost. We're going to go to your Beast Coast one where they were heavily favored. And then even the W7M one, like right after, right? Like, that was two huge ones that they're losing to underdog teams. Now, my question, though, back at you guys is, like, say you were a GM of the Falcons and your team is consistently in contention, top 4, even all these top 2 placings. That is incredibly difficult in Siege. Just to be in contention, a top 4, top 2, like, that is what every dream GM wants their team. DZ, they wishes they were a top 2, top 4 team. Any NA team wants that. So it's like, if you were in that case, though, do you take a chance and make a roster change and blow it up just because, like, oh, we just can't get over the second place hurdle, and then risk messing it up? Because, this is what I'll talk to my chat about when chat loves being GMs, Reddit loves being GMs of these teams. And it's like, well, what do you do? Because you risk, I would take a second place over blowing it up and getting, like, grouped.
Yeah. I think
you go first. You're better equipped to answer this than me.
I've actually thought about this like a decent amount. Let's say I were GM or I were coach of the team. Obviously one of the harder answers, if you want to do a big gamble, is you replace a player, not because they're not the best in the world at the role, because they definitely are. Like, they definitely have the best set of players on each role possible within the state of the game. Otherwise, they would not be making every grand final. You do it for the purpose of giving Licky Effect vocal backup. The less he has to worry about, the less he has to control everything, the less stressed he'll get when the team needs him most to be the mental pillar. Right? That's a big gamble route. The other route I think I do is simply, as a coach, focus on strats. Like, purely on strats. And this is going to sound weird. And this is the opposite of what Fabian said, because Fabian's very much like a coach who's like, I can bring more to you guys. I'm the coach who, like, works around things to see if I can find a roundabout solution. I think they're a team that rely pretty, like 95% heavily on fundamentals and 5% on creative strategies. I think their strategies, none of them are creative. They're always like gun, fundamental, refrag, push, pull, gap take strategies. Like, it's very body theory. It's very use bodies to win the game as opposed to use win cons to win the game from what I've seen them play. What I think I do is I up their strat game by 2 million, and then I just, every single time things are going wrong, I can call a timeout and call 3 more strats I could try that can get their mental back up by just pure purpose of winning. The reason for that being, if I bring in another team psychologist, they're already focused on the mental. They know the mental is the weakness. Every timeout is about the mental. Every, with Stuflex at least is about the mental. It's like, wake up, we need to do this now. Why are you shutting down? And then Licky Fact's like, why are we shutting down? And then another guy's like, come on guys, let's get the energy up. Why are we shutting down? If I make another point on the mental, it's just hyper focusing and hyper dilating a problem that they know. Like, it's just, what am I gonna do? Just add another stick to the fire and just fucking make the fire bigger, So I think I would go the strat route, actually, of just extremely strategically diversifying the team and just purely focusing on working in as many strats pockets as I can, strategical concepts, theory, all those things, so that there's a chance that in the timeout I call the next 3-4 rounds of strats, and then they piggyback off the momentum of winning one of those rounds to get their own mentals back up. Because that's what I did with Beast Coast. Like, I never knew how to call a mental timeout, so I would roundabout it by just calling 3-4 strats, and if one of them works, then we stick that concept until the end of the game, and that brings back the mental by just winning.
I think when we say things like, oh, they fold under pressure, etc., we need to better define what is folding. Are they shaking in gunfights? Are they just mechanically worse off? Is Shaiko not able to hit shots because he's worried? Is Leaky Fac distracted and not paying attention? Is it bad game sense? Is it that they're not playing that same style of aggressive play? Are they not droning as aggressively? Are they not talking as much? You know that when people get nervous, maybe they talk a little bit less. Maybe some people talk too much. I think we better need to analyze what happens when we say like, oh, they shake under pressure.
Yeah.
And then and then once we kind of diagnose that, we can get to the real root cause, right?
Yeah. I don't think they shake. I think the way I would see it is that negative momentum impacts that team tenfold in a grand finals. I think that's the best way to put it. So when I talk about having fun being optimal as a coach, like having fun is optimal to winning as a team, or just having good composure is optimal to winning as a team, because negative and positive momentum will impact you differently, right? Like so it stacks up through the course of a game, where it's like every time you lose it around you tilt, you let your teammates you tilt, and that builds up throughout the course of the game, but so does around you win, and that builds up throughout the course of the game. Having fun means you shrug off the negative momentum and you build as much positive momentum as possible, which is why I think it's optimal for winning. I think they're kind of the opposite, where when things are looking bad, they stack negative momentum. And that does things to people psychologically as humans. When you over-criticize, people become statues. They become scared to do anything because they think everything they do could possibly lead to them losing the game, as opposed to letting them the creative freedom to take the risks. And at that point, they assume the identity of a team where you'll only see one or two of the players constantly attempting to make game-winning plays the entire time, while the rest of them just seem like they don't want to make, like, you know, the rest of the team upset by, like, causing a game, like, around losing mistake, right? So I think when they have fun, when they're howling like wolves, when they don't give a fuck about the game, they're not even running real strats. Like, Shaiko's locking Alibi and Ash every single round, and they made G2 look like a cakewalk twice. Seriously. Like, I think that speaks volumes as to how insane their players can be if you give them the freedom. Because if you give them the freedom, it makes the risks of making the mistakes. Yeah, sure, but you're also bringing the greatest out of that set of 5 players you have, as opposed to limiting 4 of them to 2% of the potential surely by your mistake lost the last round, your mistake lost the last round. In any human being, and I want to say this message to the T3, T4 players out there, because I get so many like console stacks who play comp together who are like, oh, they're my friends, I can talk to them this way, and we've always talked to each other this way, so I can take it. That's every single T3, T4 team that ever comes to the console that yell at each other. All they ever say is, oh, he's my friend, so we can do this. One of my most valuable lessons I learned as a coach and as an IGL back when I played T3 was not to yell at players. Like, you will chalk someone. You will be playing a 4v5. You blame someone for everything. You are playing a 4v5. That guy will never do well if you put everything on him. That's why so many rookies don't do well, because the teams don't let them breathe. Every time I get a rookie in my team, I let him breathe. Tristan on RTV, Diffuser on Beast Goes. I literally don't criticize him ever, because I know the rest of my team is already over-criticizing them, and then I have one-on-ones with them where I tell them everything they're doing right. And it like builds the confidence. It lets them breathe. Let them make mistakes. Let them breathe. Let them figure out their own time. And it works. It works so well, because if you over-criticize, people turn into statues. People are more afraid to make mistakes than they are to take necessary risks to win, and you can extract the most of the people at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're constantly stepping in to finish something for somebody, or you're constantly like second guessing them, or even if they're doing it right, you're nitpicking it, there are some people who are going to be fine with that. There are some people who are like, oh, whatever. But there is a huge amount of people who are going to lose confidence. They're going to lose confidence in themselves. They're going to lose confidence in their abilities. They're going to lose confidence in things around them. And that's going to have a knock-on effect. They're going to be less likely to take risks. Sometimes risk management is a part of being a championship caliber player. Sometimes you just got to flip a coin. Sometimes you got to take a stupid gunfight. Sometimes you got to spawn peek or go in a rat angle, even though it defies logic and wisdom at a big moment. High risk, high reward. You know, you can't always play it safe. And this isn't even like an esport thing. Like, there are people that I've worked jobs with where it's like they're confident, they know what they're doing, they're very good at it, but then all it takes is one person to be a naysayer and get in their head, and suddenly they're not themselves. They're trying to be somebody different instead of just doing their own thing. Instead of doing what makes them so great, their own secret sauce. Instead, they're, oh, I'm worried. Oh, I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want to piss somebody off. And suddenly that hesitation is killing you more than anything else, right? To Mint's point, though, because the original question was, would you blow it up for a potential better result? I don't know. The competitive person in me says second is not good enough. You only have a small window to be the best. Like, look at that EG roster. Everybody likes that EG roster a lot for a number of reasons. They didn't win anything. I guess if you go back to Continuum, sure. But like, what is their legacy? Troy obviously has cemented his legacy on Continuum, on DZ, on Space Station, on all these different teams. But what of the other guys? Where are those other players in, you know, the realm of Siege? Do you hold somebody like a Necrox or a Young on the same level as a Jonas or a Kanto Raketti? I don't think you do. And I think a big part of that is because that EG roster never really won. Like, when we look back at the history of Rainbow Six, we're going to look at EG and we're going to say, like, yeah, they were an amazing team. For a long period of time, I don't think there was any debate. They were the second best team to ever play this game after that Penta G2 roster. But now that more teams are winning, Penta and G2 are still maintaining their spot at the top. But EG's fallen way down. And now you've got this current FaZe Clan iteration, which is inarguably better than EG. You've got the W7M Furia Core, inarguably better than DZ. You've got this M80 team, inarguably better than that EG team. You know, like, I even think you could make a pretty good argument that even though they've only won one major, that the BDS Falcons core is better than EG too. Like, I think you have to look at it as second is good enough for a period of time, but it's never going to put you in the halls of great, the halls of excellency. Like, I would, if I had that team, I would be doing everything in my power to make it so that Falcons was winning championships. That would be my focus. Why spend all that money? Why put in all that effort to never actually win? You look at all the teams that have won events, you're never going to see your name on there. What's the point? Like, for me, I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's another psychologist. I don't care if it's getting new players. W7M were a team that was excellent, and they were really, really good. And what did they keep doing? They kept doing well, but they kept making small changes, and now they are, or well, maybe not at this exact moment, but they were indisputably the best team in the world for a year. They proved that sometimes subbing one person in, trying to find that right balance, it does pay off. I think the same can be said for Falcons. It's just, I'm not the type of guy that's going to be able to give any directive here and be able to tell you what needs to be done for Falcons to get to that level.
Yep. And unless anyone has anything else to say about Europe, no? Any takers? Going once, going twice? Mint?
Well, we can quickly recap it. I mean, Virtus Pro made a pretty valiant run. I think the top three in Europe is pretty locked in at this point. It's Secret, G2, Falcons in that order. Obviously, them getting the top three is good. Virtus Pro fell in the lower bracket semifinals. Pretty devastating loss to Team Secret. I mean, the EML finals to me only just cemented the same hierarchy that we thought that EML had this basically this whole stage, which is that Secret, G2, and Falcons are the three best teams, bar none. BDS got beat by Virtus Pro really early in the lower bracket. Like, that was a dreadful showing. Like, but yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say. Like, G2 are a team that is still trying to find their synergy. They're a very, very good team. They're a young team. They're trying to work through this. I think Lawyer and Stompin still have room to improve. I think G2's great, but I mean, it's just that Falcons are Falcons. Falcons should be winning EML every single stage. There's no reason why they shouldn't.
I think the most important part was too that literally Secret, Falcons, G2, they all qualified for SI, and you know what else is new? That's the 3 powerhouses.
Yeah.
Of EU.
Can I just take a second here, Kyle, not to cut you off, but just say how much I hate the new Liquipedia interface?
Go for it.
It's so shit. I hate it. I liked when it was the big squares or rectangles, wherever it was with the logos. And now it's like these, whether you put it in compact mode or not, I absolutely hate the new Liquipedia interface. I think it is awful. It makes it so much harder at a quick glance to navigate it. It's not very intuitive. I think it stinks. This is not like a change for the sake of change thing. Like, I'm a guy, I like change quite a lot, actually. But I think, what did you say? Is Fett freaking out over the interface? The new
No, I
UI?
just came back and you were shitting on Wikipedia and I started making like my reaction faces.
No, man, the
I mean,
new
you're right.
Liquipedia, if a Liquipedia editor is listening to this, I beg you to please just like figure out a way to go back to at least somewhat of what it used to look like. Like, the new one is terrible. At a quick glance, it's awful. It's clunky. It's
As someone who uses team PNGs, if you do go back, please make it so that you can right-click the team logos and download them in their minimal form, and because I couldn't do it anymore for a while, and that made me really sad.
I think it looks terrible. I went on to Liquipedia the other day and I was like, what have they done? I think it's awful. And I just tried to look at the SI qualifications really quickly, and it's like, it's just like, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And I'm not a fan at all. Like, it's terrible.
While you're looking at that, can I ask something real quick that might be a little off topic, but mainly just
Go
want
ahead,
to
go
get your
ahead.
guys' thoughts on it you can do it real fast. But
Go ahead.
you know, this, like Vet, you were saying this is played on the, oh my god, hang on, Wikipedia up, and there was an ad, and that holy shit, that was booming. Okay,
Go ahead.
Old build regionals,
Obo?
right? It was played on
Yeah.
the old build. That was a great
Yeah.
point. Like, they had
Old
they had
build.
a scrim on the old build. They couldn't even play the TTS, couldn't explore the new changes. And I don't know about you. So I actually haven't really been paying attention too much to the EML. Why? Well, one, it's at 3 a.m, and I'm not waking up at 3 a.m. PSD.
I didn't, bum. Sorry.
I know you're a grinder and I'm not. My bad. But 2, I just couldn't bring myself to watch the old build. Like, I want to watch the new build. I want to watch what's out right now. I want to watch the DMR meta. I want to watch how teams are using Thatcher. And I feel like I'm like in that viewer mindset. So I was more excited to watch SI quals happening in NA, where we get to watch a lot of JJ Blast and the new Envy team, which I'm sure we'll talk about, cover whenever. But they were playing on the new build. Do you think like that's fit? Like, why are open quals? Why are they playing on the new build, but the regionals, like, why are we playing on the old? Why is Philly on the old? Why is the Brazilian on the old? Like, can't we just?
I know the answer to this. It's just a quick one. The stage was played on the old build, so they're just finishing up the league on the same build that they played the stage on. That's it.
Sure, competitive integrity, but like,
Yeah.
I want to watch the new stuff, man.
I agree with Min. I also want to watch the new stuff. I want to do a new call to action chat. What would you think? Because I haven't actually surveyed the pro opinions on this. I meant to ask, like, hey, would y'all actually be okay with a game-changing builds mid fucking tournament? I haven't asked that. I know League doesn't do it. They keep things on old build for competitive consistency. I don't know what the right answer is, and I have no question for that. Yeah, that being said, I wanted, on the Wikipedia topic, one more request of the change. If there's a Wikipedia editor watching this, can you please put in some prize pool split for coaches so people who stop pulling up my Wikipedia and they're like, this guy only made $400 off this game?
I don't know if they know the prize pool split though, right? Because are coaches always paid equitably? Like, do you make the same as players? I didn't think you did. I didn't think you did.
I did. I dictated everything. I made sure everyone was paid the same, and I made sure everyone got a even split for the prize pool. Yeah, that's my
like us
philosophy,
here.
though. That's
We-
my philosophy.
When Mint's internet died earlier today, chat, for full transparency, I basically said to Mint, I was like, if you can't make this episode, you're still going to get the same cut that we get. None of us are paid any different from each other. We are all paid the same. So,
Thank you.
um,
So DZ, we made a little bit less as an insider, as a coach, and I think that is somewhat the thinking on some other teams. But
I've heard that as well.
sure.
I've heard that coaches don't make the same as players.
Just a
Yeah,
little
for
bit
most
less.
teams. I'm a proponent of everyone equal on salary, on prize pool split, on everything all the time, because everyone's equal on the team.
That's
like
communism.
my
That's
philosophy.
that's the
That's
woke
I
mind
love-
virus.
Yes, I love.
That's the woke mind virus, man.
I think there was a lot of check stealing coaches back in the day that
Tears on
players did
fire.
not like to share.
Sorry, what? I was singing communist propaganda song. Anyways, did you wrap up the EML when I was walking?
Sort of. Yeah, we started talking about Wikipedia. He started talking about teams that got qualified. Let's quickly talk about SA League and then wrap the show. How does that sound, gents?
I want to talk about NA. No, it's not over, but I still want to talk about it.
Let's save NA for next week because then we'll have
Okay, yeah.
we'll have a full wrap up. There's nothing to talk about yet. Let's
Yeah.
save. We gotta shelve it. We got stuff to talk about next week, man. We were supposed to do like an hour to an hour and a half. We've already blown past that
Okay,
yet again. We said that it was going to be a quick episode this week, and then producer David was like, "No, you guys are going to talk for 3 hours," and well, look where we are. So,
Well, we're waiting for our bus driver. Let's go.
yeah. All right, I'm driving the bus now. Let's talk about SA League. I don't know if you guys watched it. I casted it yesterday. Brazil is Brazil. I go back and forth on whether I find Brazil interesting. It really just depends on my mood, because it's like the teams play so much and you see so much of it where it's just like, it was Phase and Fury yet again. I was actually out for most of today, but I did get to catch some of the matches. Mint, I think you were co-streaming it, were you?
No, I was watching JJ. Superior. JJ.
To your
Black.
point, by the way, I would rather watch live build as well, but I think if you're going to wrap up the stage, you got to do it on the build it was played on. So it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah.
it's
competitive
both.
Integrity. I get it.
Yeah, it's like it's both. It has to be on the old build for the sake of competitive integrity, but like I don't really want to watch the old build, so like I get it. And I'm wondering if people are the same way here. Though again, esports is marketing, so who knows? Maybe just play on the new build and expect the teams to deal with it. Furia FaZe Clan. Some of the matches yesterday were a little bit perplexing. FaZe versus Team Liquid had me blowing up. Lenda dropped like 3 kills in 2 maps.
I think
Like
you were
luck.
applauding him on the second map that he had a big 2K round.
He literally got a 2K and I started clapping.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I was watching that game.
Like it was like watching a baby learn to walk. Like I'm not trying to be rude here because I know I'm not a pro player. I know Fet's kind of giggling at it, but it's like if you can't drop a single kill in your first map and then you drop just like 3 kills, of which 2 of those came in the same round in the previous, like in that map, it's like you can't do that. You cannot do that. Like Lenda's stats for Team Liquid are not great. Like I don't think he was the play. Again, Liquid is searching for an identity crisis, and it's like the question that we asked about Falcons, I guess we can kind of ask about Liquid here, right? Like they keep moving the pieces around and they just can't get there. I just,
Yeah.
it was like, I cannot see Nesk retire without winning a major. I can't. My brain will
every-
explode.
Another one?
Every tournament I view on like Liquid that has been so far this season is just like they seem like they have this resurgence when it's crunch time for like a day, and then it just all crumbles down again. And I don't know. I agree. It's crazy to see a team like that in such a bad place. I think that's the story of these finals because, like you said, I don't think we're in the. I feel a burp coming up. That's why I keep pausing. I'm like waiting for the burp to come, and it never comes. And it's in my throat. So if it ever comes, I'm sorry, but like I feel it.
Jesus.
Okay. But point being, like I think everything else plays the same. It's like it's Brazilian. It's the same matchups every single time. And then it's like Liquid, can you do it? No, they can't do it. And I think that's just because we're not in the storylines as much. We don't know the beefs or anything. But one of my main topics, actually, I want to talk about to be interesting, is whether or not Brazil has fallen off as a region. Because I think at Munich Major, the results were super poor. But I'll let you wrap up the results of like basically the entire playthrough.
Yeah.
And then I will speak on that. I do think what you're saying is fair though, because as I'm becoming more of a viewer and a spectator, I think like when I'm like connected to the pros, it's like I'm scared to like slander, but I do think slander is necessary for media. So I'm all for it now. I've been really into F1 and I've been really enjoying F1 slander memes. And I'm sure if I was friends with any of the drivers, I would never be saying any of this shit. But hey, I love it. I love it, bro.
It's quite striking actually looking at the ratings for SAL for just the SAL League finals. Lenda, by the way, was the lowest rated player. But Dots, Loban, and Dodez are all in the bottom 10 as well. And W7M finished in 3rd place. So weird stuff is going on here. The SA League finals, for those that didn't follow along, Team Liquid and Loud faced off each other in the lower bracket. Team Liquid won, Loud got bounced out. Then Liquid defeated Nip. Nip got into the lower bracket by losing to Furia. So W7M beats FaZe Clan, and then Furia beats Nip. So W7M and Furia move on. Nip goes down to the lower bracket. They get squashed by Team Liquid. Then Team Liquid gets squashed by FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan beats W7M on the rematch. Because W7M loses to Furia, and then Furia and FaZe Clan is in the grand finals. And some of the, it was pretty good. I got to catch some of Skyscraper. FaZe won Bank 7-5. Furia won Skyscraper 7-5, and then FaZe smoked Furia on Lair 7-3. I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because like Brazil doesn't look that interesting when they're just playing each other. I think Brazil looks most interesting when they're playing other teams, and that's because certain Brazilian teams will bring a different style and a different gameplay in international competition. I do think the region has taken a bit of a step back. I think you are correct in that regard. I will say it is really, really hard for us to say this stuff definitively with how few live events we have.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ignore Reload and EWC. That literally gives us 2 live events this year.
Yep.
Can you properly gauge a region off of just SI and Munich? Like, I don't think you can, right? Like Brazil looked pretty good at Boston. They looked much worse at Munich. I think NA looked terrible at Munich with the exception of the top 2 teams. I think the bottom 2 teams on NA did not look very good at all. And people were able to score some points against NA because of that. But I think if next year, if we go back to 3 majors, I'm assuming that Reload reverts to a regular major. I don't know what's going to happen in the summer. I'm assuming that EWC is just here to stay, unfortunately. Like I think next year we'll have a better idea. I think SI will be really, really interesting. There are some pretty significant meta changes. There's a new map in the map pool. This is the time to show that Brazil is still one of the best regions at adapting. They're an incredible region when it comes to fragging power. I think the support players, especially on attack, are going to be better fraggers, which will work out really effectively for a region like Brazil. And I don't know. They've got some good teams going. But these teams all look like they haven't made a lot of progress since February. So I don't know. I think both EU and NA, at least the top teams, have caught up.
Yeah, I'd also agree with that. You said my main point, which I do wish we had more live events because that is exactly where Brazil is fun to watch.
It would be nice.
I am thankful that this was a LAN regionally and not another online tournament for the 15th time watching. Regional matchups are not fun to watch. Like, I don't want to beat around the bush. Like, they're just not fun. Like, I had the option today to watch again SI quals where like there's some pretty high stakes on the line, or Furia play FaZe for the 15th millionth time. And it's just like, I want to watch Furia and I want to watch FaZe, but I want to watch them play some other teams at an event with some stakes on the line. And yeah, there was just nothing to it. So
yeah.
I do think they look kind of from the games that I watched, because I did watch the FaZe Liquid. I did tune into some of these as well when you were casting, because of course I have to watch games that you cast. But they do look, I don't know what it is, and I don't really see it changing too much. I almost think my power rankings going into SI might be pretty similar. Go M80, and I don't know what they exactly have to do. I don't know if it's like a meta has to shift, because Brazil is still hesitant at pulling out the shields and the cheese, like you will see out of Secret or we'll see out of M80.
Which by the way is insane, because that was the region that started this. Like, I feel like Brazil played shields and did cheesy stuff far more than every other region before it was popular.
Well, maybe the addition of Brazilian coaches being scattered throughout the world. If we looked at the EML regional, I think I saw a funny picture, which was a picture of the top 3 teams, and it was like Twister, Julio, Ramalho, all Brazilian. And it's like, okay. And I think we're starting to slowly see that in NA with Lagotness coming over here, right? So we're starting to catch up, which is great news for EML and NA fans. And we're talking a lot of shit here, and then watch we're gonna go to SI and bomb out, and here comes Fury and FaZe. But FaZe look, my biggest takeaway is like FaZe won this, but like every game that I watched, FaZe did not look impressive. That was my main takeaway. Like I think even the casters were kind of talking about them not being like the same old FaZe clan, and yet they went on to win this entire thing, which is kind of crazy. I thought they looked pretty weak at SI as well, but yeah, who knows? They're more of an international team, anyways.
I'm glad you note that, because I did see some chatter on the Pro League subreddit, which, by the way, like, leave Links alone. I'm just so tired of every single fucking time Links casts. I just read the subreddit and a bunch of fucking brainless mutants are just talking about Links. Like, shut up about the casting. I'm getting fucking tired of it. I don't care if you don't like the casting. Keep your fucking opinions to yourself. Like, talk about the fucking match, you losers. Don't talk about the casting. Anyway, FaZe Clan doesn't look like themselves. They have not been very impressive. And the one thing that I've been saying when we've been casting them is, like, they keep winning these scrappy games where they constantly have to pull off come from behind and blah, blah. And it's like, yes, what I'm saying is true, but the story that I'm trying to tell is, like, FaZe look beatable and they are, like, teetering on the abyss. And if it wasn't for the fact that they kept coming back, which is never a sure thing, this team could very easily flame out, right? And it's like, FaZe don't look like as dominant as they could be. I would argue that FaZe's run through SI, even when they lost to Furia, FaZe looked incredible. They looked way better than they look now. And it's like, I don't know if it's FaZe struggling with the meta. I don't know if it's team cohesion issues. I don't know if they're just playing teams that are better prepared. But FaZe Clan do not look like that dominant, unstoppable force. Same with Furia. Neither of those teams do. There used to be a point in time where Furia would queue into a match and I'd just watch 2 rounds and I'm like, okay, this is over. That's not the team I watch anymore. Same with FaZe.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to make a point on one thing that you said. There it is. There is the burp.
Sorry.
Holy shit.
Dude, that took as long as Len did to get a kill.
Oh my fucking god. You're so quick with
Celebrate the same, brother.
Holy shit. I want to say, like, the thing about, like, you seeing events, you know, like, as they happen. I completely agree with that. Like, if we had more events, we could tell more. I've always been the type to speculate. Very, very hardly. I put 2 tweets to, like, toot my own horn that I realized I now need a screenshot for producer David, because I've realized he just doesn't see it the way I see it. I tweeted out, because I've always been speculative. I always look at a region at their pure just strategy, and I'm like, do they have it or not in the current meta? And this was back in 2021, May 10th. Look at the date on that tweet. I said in 2021, May 10th, I said, hot take that might backfire later. I think EU will get absolutely dominated. I don't think they will be anywhere near the level of NA or LATAM. And LATAM takes SI on May 10th, 2021. This was COVID. So SI took place May 11th, right after, a day after I wrote that tweet. Now, let's look at what happened before that. Space Station won SI 2020. COVID happened and everything got canceled. Before that, it was the winners of every S-tier event was Na'Vi, Empire, G2, Liquid one time, but then Penta, ENCE, Penta, Continuum, Elevate, and then it's back to the beginning of the game. Okay, it was all EU. EU domination. EU domination. At this time, in the olden days, LATAM was the worst region. Okay, APAC was obviously like the worst region, but LATAM out of the big 3 was the worst region. Everyone was like, they're idiots, they run around, they're stupid, they're aggressive. And I speculated, May 10th, 2021, LATAM takes SI, EU's nowhere near the level of NA or LATAM. At that SI, the top bracket, upper bracket semifinal forward, the teams were MIBR, NIP, FaZe, Liquid, OXG, and TSM. Right? And then the rest of the year was won by Team 1 from Brazil and FaZe Clan from Brazil. So I think there's value. I'm gonna toot my own horn because I forgot I made that tweet. But now remember, I'm fucking him, guys. I fucking knew LATAM was gonna be the greatest before it happened. Anyways, that being said, that was, by the way, this was before when Brazil was referred to as LATAM. Point being, I like to make speculations, and that's the speculation I'm gonna make right now. I put the ethos there. This speculation is when I watch their game plan, they don't have the innovation for them anymore. I always look at innovation and how viable that innovation is within the meta. They have nothing to their name anymore. Europe is better at their signature. All they had going, okay, Their main thing was they were able to play aggression super well, and they understood the consequences of aggression and how they could use that to turn around victories when they were dominating. Europe has done that and done that better. G2 and Secret and Falcons have figured out how to hit gaps, how to create pressure, how to push pull infinitely better. And on top of that, they have win cons and strats and micro plays, pocket plays out the fucking wazoo. And they have the Brazilian coaches that already taught them all that. NA has the super heavy win con meta, the slow meta, the shields, blah, 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 blah. They're the best in that. Brazil looks like they have nothing to them. And the people are going to get mad at me because Brazil's still going to do well. I still think they're one of the most consistent regions because they take the game more seriously than any region as a whole. Their tier 2 scene is clearly the best out of all 3 regions. I will not doubt that for a second. And I think they have a better practice culture, better overall culture, and better consistent approach to the game. And that's why they will always get teams onto the main stage. But if you look at Munich, only FaZe made it past like a round of the main stage, or like, you know, like the 2 rounds of the main stage. The rest of the team, it was Furia and NIP were out in like 1, basically.
Nip played on main stage, right?
Yeah, but they were out after 1. They were out after 1 round of main stage. So,
But
Go ahead. For me, yeah. So for me, it's like I'm big speculator, big fat speculator. I've speculated in the past when I said they were going to be the best in the world. And right now, I think they are lagging very far behind. I think they've fallen off very far behind the EU and NA top dogs in terms of how the meta will be played. I think, you know, G2 and Secret and Falcons have everything Brazil has and more. And NA completely dominate the other spectrum of the game, which is the slow win con play style. And I think they need a shakeup to start doing well again, and I don't know what that shakeup is. And yeah,
I remember, to your point, and let's we'll start to slowly wrap this topic just because we are running out on time. I remember before that SI, Kix and I had a pretty in-depth conversation about like what it would take, we thought it would take for Brazil to finally win something. Kyle actually has a really unique perspective here, and I do want to hear from him in just a sec, because that old Flipside roster used to almost exclusively scrim Brazilians. They're one of the few NA teams that did that. There was a thinking in the first like 4-ish years of Brazil being in Pro League that the things that Brazil did really, really well, their gunplay was great, their teamwork around their gunplay was great, their ability to find information and immediately act on it was terrifying. But their gadget usage sucked. And they didn't know how to use their drones properly. They didn't know how to take map control properly. It was a very simple way of dealing with things. And if they couldn't just kind of brute force their way through a situation, they would fall apart. Their trade game wasn't very strong. They didn't really know how to hold different parts of the map. They didn't know how to extend. These were the big issues that they had, right? But it was papered over by the fact that they'd get a guy and they'd drone him in, and you'd be immediately followed up and dead. There was more patience there from North America and Europe. Brazil would just be like 3 drones would fly at you and you'd be dead, and that's it. Once they started to figure out utility, and as the game gradually shifted towards a more frag-heavy meta, you suddenly see Brazil doing better. And I remember being at the Raleigh Major, and I remember Julio, when he was still on Ninjas in Pajamas, scrimming G2 almost exclusively. And he tweeted out, "We have learned more from scrimming here in America than I think we have scrimming for an entire year in Brazil." And I think it helped. And I think it was kind of a wake-up call for Brazil. And I remember he got a lot of hate for that. And I remember Brazil, obviously, Brazilian fans are very passionate. They don't always handle themselves super well on social media. I remember him taking a lot of hate for that, but he was absolutely spot on. And a lot of other teams in private were like, "You're absolutely right. We need to start scrimming NA more. We need to start scrimming EU more. We need to do more VOD work." And then gradually that region started to get better. COVID hit. And now it's like Brazil has been the best region in Siege from 2021 till, honestly, I don't think they are at this moment, but I think they were in February. So like from 2021 till now, or till a couple months ago, Brazil has dominated. The meta has suited them. They figured out their weaknesses, but guess what?
Other regions are always going to catch up, just like how Brazil caught up to EU. Now EU and A are catching up to Brazil. The only region that can't seem to put it together is APAC. And again, I think that's geographical issues. I just think APAC doesn't have a big enough player base. The ping doesn't allow them to scrim well enough. The salary and the exposure just isn't there. So a lot of the players have to work part-time jobs. You might get a flash in a pan like Norengo or something like that, where a team gets really good for a couple years or a couple months. But consistently, APAC as a region just is always going to struggle in our game. That sucks, but that's just the reality of it. But Kyle, to your point, what were your experiences dealing with Brazil when you used to scrim them all the time on that old Flipside roster?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered a little bit.
I'm doing a lot of
where-
talking for you today. I'm very sorry.
No, you make great points. You're an unk like myself. I'm actually surprised you remember me talking about that. But yeah, we would definitely scrim them way back on Flipside because, well, I was always a believer that you needed to be unpredictable and you needed to like be really good at default strats, but also a mix of aggressive strats, which we would and like weird stuff to throw off. And Brazil offered a different play style, so we would scrim them all the time just to kind of see what they're doing on a site, and then that would be like our B strategy. We would have our clean default A strategy, and then we would take what they're doing for a B strategy. For like going way back to like Hereford base, we had a super aggressive strat. I don't know if you remember like that old NA EU meta was like smoke and then try to run across in that bomb site, that basement bomb site, which was like awful. You had to have like these perfect smoke lineups that Kicks found, and you had to somehow cross to the table on the other side of the room and get the bomb down. And then Brazil came up with a way of like, oh no, let's reinforce the walls and play with a shotgun up close and contest this. And it was, anyway, just different problems that you would run into. What I actually found was when we got to DZ, and like this is not saying like we fixed Brazil at all, but a lot of them would say that the Brazilian teams would copy DZ strategies. Like they didn't know how to play default or play like like the normal meta style that was kind of winning at that time, the NAEU. And so they would always talk about like, well, our region sucks for strats, so we look in NA and we'll copy NA strats all the time. But like we see that now happening where if we try to do the same thing, if a T2 team was to try to take a Furious strat, you are not going to play it the same. You don't know the win cons around that strategy. So definitely scrimming up against each other allowed us both to, you know, properly win or properly know, I guess, like the win cons and things like that. And that's why now we'll scrim EU all the time at boot camps. I honestly think because you're 100% right too, with Brazil being ahead 2021 to 2025. The biggest improvement we had on DZ was when we went to Brazil and we boot camped for like a month. We got destroyed for like 2 weeks so badly by T2, T3 Brazilian teams. And then we, so like a light switch. My analogies are all over the place too. I'm trying to think of something really basic.
We are all so tired. This is a Sunday night show. We're old.
But a light switch came on. It's just like a really small concept that I'm not going to talk about. But, it clicked in our minds. And the next thing you know, for the next 2 weeks leading up to the event, this is when we first picked up Bo and Nave. We were dogging on Brazilian teams. And we went into that event and we had a fantastic SI until tragic incident happened at the bottom of Skyscraper Black Stairs that we will not talk about. That costed us about $40,000. Thank you, Nave. But anyway, yeah, regions screaming each other. Brazil was behind, but I mean, dude, those guys are so. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about with Brazil. Also, their meta, I think, came at a perfect time. Wasn't 2021, 2020? That was like util meta, right? That was like Bolo playing a Pixel Shield piano, and we have.
That's where you lose me. I forget what metas line up with what.
Yeah.
Like SSG was the mute Mozzie meta.
Right. I think it was the util dump meta because the only reason
that was like Malusi, Goyo, all that stupid stuff, right?
Right. And the only reason I'm thinking of util dump meta, it's because like NA and EU, we're just like, how do we be as perfect as possible to clear these Goyo shields? How do we perfectly clear these that Pixel Shield with the 4 Wamai discs and 3? We got to bring this many flashbangs, and we got to hit this lineup for this nade, and this is the safe. And then Brazil's like, no, we could just pretend we're gonna clear it and then walk up the white stairs behind you, and then that's gonna cause a chain reaction of your Pixel player now has to turn around, and now we're gonna be in ticket, and we're gonna run at you, and we're just like all this gap creating meta, which is completely changed the game. and to what now we see the meta now, where it's like, yeah, we don't have to clear these power spots if we don't want to.
I think you're correct, by the way. Malusi launched with Ace May 2020, late May, or so it would have been June 2020. So
Yeah.
SI 2021 would have been a year later.
Okay, that makes sense.
I memory hold COVID.
That's what I like to
it's-
think. That's where I like to think the Brazilian meta became king, because again, we're all like brainless, just trying to figure out how do I clear shield? It's got a lot of ADSs, and they're just like, no, just walk at him. Just walk at him and shoot him off the shield and pull this guy's attention, and then this guy has to come help, so that's going to create a gap here. And they were, it was just pure geniuses.
And that's what I was saying about like the push pulls. Like they knew how to utilize purely like frag pressure and their bodies to create reaction and consequences, and then react to those reaction and consequences. Now that's super default. Like every team needs to know how to do that, or else you're not in it. But back then it was revolutionary, and they dominated. But I think what it requires for you to be top dogs is an X factor, an it factor. And that's why I don't necessarily fully buy into the whole, does the meta need to shift back to what they're good at? Because I think that's not the case. If you look at Dark Zero versus Astralis at the Charlotte Major, that was a surgence of what I like to call like the super aggressive meta. Right? Great major, man. Great win. Congrats. Congrats. But Astralis was coming out the gates. You remember that, man? There's a 1.5 meta. Astralis coming out the gates, they folded everyone, just fucking running at them. What did DZ do? They played slow. They played DZ. They played prime DZ, slow ass angle holding siege. Guys, let's just talk about our angle. I watched a documentary, talk about the angles we're holding, and we fucking hold them, and it worked. It worked, right? And I think that's the tale of the game, is just you have to invent an innovation. You have to have your unique identity. I think that's why teams fucking suck in other games like League of Legends, because because if you spent your entire life in NA or EU trying to catch up to Korea, you will never beat Korea. You're playing catch up. Invent something for yourself. The best result the West has ever had in League of Legends, aside from the first ever World Championship, was when they fucking made a mid laner play bot lane, and the mid laner Caps was playing like the most insane picks anyone has ever seen. You have to invent shit. Carry is like the greatest support player ever because he invents shit. Beast Coast, we fucking forced that shield meta, and then when everyone catched up, we started banning Montaigne in playoffs. Like, you inventing shit and innovating and creating the new is how you go on top. And I think they haven't created anything new, honestly, for about a year now, and it's caught up to them. They won Reload, they won SI, but then after that, I think it's clear that and they have that upper hand. Now,
I just wanted to touch on your one point. I think that's a great point, because we had Whatables on the show literally talking about APAC and what their problems are. And they talked about, Western coaches kind of going over there and trying to teach them how to play the EU way, the Brazil way, the NA way. And it's like they don't have the time to catch up to learn that style, when they should really be, what is APAC style? What is their strength? How can they cause problems that we have seen in the past when APAC teams get to international lands? Every once in a while we will see a Cinderella story, because other teams aren't comfortable playing against that APAC style. So that's a fantastic point, that people should always, not always, but always pretty much lean into their own strengths instead of just trying to learn how other people are trying to play the game.
Yeah. Parker?
I think that's a great point for us to end this episode on.
Woo!
And we can talk a little bit more about APAC and North America on next week's show, as both of them still have to do their regional finals. Europe and South America have already gotten out of the way. North America and APAC will be going. Where's APAC? It's in Sydney, right? Yeah, it is. It's in Fortress Sydney, and then obviously North America's will be in Philadelphia. None of the casters will physically be there. I think the casters will be there for APAC, but they won't be for North America, as they weren't for EML. But it will still be fun to watch. I will be casting the grand finals of the NA League finals with Jesse. So we should be doing the Sunday matchup, whatever that is. I don't know when Lynx and XR Troika are going to be on, but I'm assuming they'll do the Saturday show. Maybe they will do something on Sunday. I honestly don't know what everybody's schedule is. And then you've got all the Aussies, the two duos. You've got Guz and Zenox and Devin Pengu taking things away with APAC. But great show.
And as we get towards the end of the year, and the festivities get in, maybe we'll get a little bit more festive with some of our topics. Maybe bring on a guest or two. Probably not until the new year. But Operation Tenfold Pursuit went live just a couple days ago. We'll be going more in depth about the good, the bad, the hits, the misses, and all of that jazz, and see if anything has been fixed by the time we record the next episode. Limb damage should be changed by the time the next episode goes live. And we won't get the North American finals, but we will likely get the APAC finals. And then we can talk about NA, because Fat really wanted to talk about NA, but I had to silence him like big government does. And he's very sad. Very sad. Send Fett some love in the comments. As always, thank producer David. We're very close to his Lambo. We want him to get one. He drove halfway. He drove across all of America a couple shows ago. Fell asleep while we were recording, but that is okay because he was a tired boy, and he could have gotten there faster if he had a Lamborghini. So, on behalf of Fett, on behalf of Mint, on behalf of myself, producer David, everybody at Last Free Nation, and most importantly, thanks to you for watching. Like, subscribe, answer our call to actions, type in the chat, share this widely on social media if you so choose, or don't. You're your own boss. But most importantly, enjoy your evening, enjoy your day, wherever it is, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.